We are back for day 2 coverage of the 2021 NFL Draft. If you're not sick of us already, I'm sure by the end of tonight you will be after last night's, 5.5 hour long marathon. I'm your host, John Bauer. Find me on Twitter at the Bauer Club. The Cowboy fan himself, Dan LaMagna, FF Coach Dan. What's up, Dan?
Ready to keep building this Cowboys Super Bowl roster and our fantasy football championship rosters today. You know, I was a little tired, man, this morning, I'll be honest, but I got the second win for Dynasty Theory tonight. Let's do it.
I was exhausted this morning, and it really takes a toll on us here.
Takes a what?
A toll.
He said it right, Mitch. That was good.
I lucked into that one. We are also joined by Mitch Sorenson. That's at DynoMC on Twitter. What's up, Mitch?
What's up, guys? I admit, I was telling my wife earlier that I feel like I'm getting the flu because, I'm on Utah time, right? So we started at 5:00 and I ate right before we got on. And then I didn't eat again till about an hour ago. And I was just dragging. But then,
Wait, you didn't eat breakfast or lunch?
No.
Really?
No. Yeah. I had a couple coffees. That counts. But I got my Monster Energy drink. So I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm good until, for a good solid 8 hours tonight, I think. All
right. I think that will cover us.
It's going to be a hard crash for you after.
Oh, it will.
By the end of last night, I felt bad because I was just sitting there like a zombie. I don't think I ever yawned that many times. Linda's already in the chat. Oh, it's going to be a long night for Linda. It's going to be a long night. The Linda diet. Kev says John lost all that sleep after James Robinson's value got destroyed. No, that was Mitch.
It was.
I slept fine, even though I actually have more shares, a higher percentage than Mitch does. But so looking at yesterday, I want to start. Are there any big changes? And Dan, I want to start with you because Mitch, you threw the tweet out. I threw a tweet out. Dan actually was working, apparently. Your biggest risers and fallers from yesterday, for looking strictly at the rookies. So going in, maybe you didn't have everything perfectly laid out, but last second tinkering, any big changes based on what we saw yesterday?
The biggest change for me was Trey Lance. I just think he just jumped up my boards tremendously. And not that he wasn't a high ceiling prospect going into last night by any means, but you just got a guy that passes the eye test, landed in the perfect situation with a lot of talent around him, a great coaching staff. And he's went into that elite category of upper echelon rookie picks that we're just chomping at the bit to start drafting rookies come Monday, I think we'll be starting.
I had one that started today, I was saying, but I don't have any picks.
Yeah, no, all of my leagues start on Sunday, Dan. So you best be ready for it.
Thank you. Thanks for the heads up, bud. Hey, 8 hour clocks. I'm good.
Yes. Yeah.
But those early drafts that will get us prepared for all the other ones, the safe leagues, all the other private leagues we're in. Mitch, what about you? I think you and I are pretty much on par. And I feel like, Dan, I'm using a notebook, so I'm not bouncing back and forth between too many tabs. And I was showing Mitch before. It's my wife's notebook. It's a little Kate Spade. It's nice. It's a nice notebook.
That's
really,
cute, man.
Really brings out the color of my eyes, I think. But yeah, Mitch, what about you? What are you looking at here?
So right now, really the only faller that I have is just ETN because I worry about the ceiling there. So I'm only dropping him one spot because I had him above Kyle Pitts. And now I just can't see myself ever drafting ETN before I draft Pitts. So I had to move him up. And then the only other one was I dropped Terrace Marshall down just because I think that injury concern could still be there. And Jalen Waddle getting picked 6th. I already love him prospect-wise. So I was willing to move him up to the end of the first round as far as rookie drafts go. But I was going to ask you guys, so do you have, I think, John, you do. Dan, do you have the 4 quarterbacks going 1 through 4 in Superflex drafts?
No, but it's league dependent too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I really need a quarterback, my rankings are very liquid. All right. I'm willing to hop up certain guys depending on the need of my team. So, those teams with the Cam Newtons and the Andy Daltons, I probably do, Mitch, but those other leagues, there's just some elite talent, man, between pick what position you need. Do you want an elite guy in Najee Harris at running back? Do you want an elite guy in Jamar Chase at receiver? Do you want an elite guy, Kyle Pitts, especially in tight end premium at that position? So I think they kind of creep into the quarterbacks. I'll definitely say Trevor Lawrence and Trey Lance are very attractive. I'm still on my boy Zach Wilson, but not 1 through 4. No, not for me.
Okay.
Mitch, I apologize. Can you repeat that question? I heard Johnny coughing upstairs, and I was ready to jump up, and I thought I was going to do the Heimlich.
You're good. So well, as long as he's okay, we're good.
That has happened before, actually. So I'll freaking jump over this table if I have to. But anyway, so repeat your question.
So I'll actually just look at it like this, and then you can bounce off of it. So I have quite a few leagues to where I have an early first-round pick and like 107, 108, 109. Almost every other time I would have an early pick, I would pick one of those quarterbacks in the top 4. But if I have that 107 or 108, that's when I'm actually going to be willing to take maybe Kyle Pitts, maybe take Jamar Chase before I grab one of those quarterbacks, knowing that more than likely in leagues, we're going to see one of those quarterbacks fall to 107 or 108 or 109. I'll just take him with the second pick. But if I only have one pick in the draft and it's an early one, I'm getting the quarterback every single time.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I think a lot of that, you have to look at your league and you have to know their tendencies. And if you know their specific people, I think it's very important when you're doing your rookie drafts, and probably a little bit easier in rookie drafts as opposed to startups, because you've seen the league formation, you see how everybody's tendencies are, so you can react. But let's say you have 104 and 107, you should have a decent idea what's going to happen at 105 and 106. So if I see Dan has 105 and he's got 3 quarterbacks, I can play off of that. Is it a foolproof plan? Absolutely not. And you're going to miscalculate at times, but it is a calculated risk. So I like that approach. Certainly it's going to depend on the leagues, your league mates, settings, and things like that. But yeah, I could see a situation where I might go and I'm looking at my 3 positional players, Harris, Pitts, and Chase, and then I could probably snag Wilson a little bit later.
Yeah.
So I think the reason Wilson's going to slip has nothing to do with Wilson. It's just so much excitement around Lance and Fields with their landing spots. I think both of them are attractive landing spots.
Yeah, I completely agree. And the reason why I've tried this previously, and I remember it was the year that Haskins came out, and I tried to get a little bit sneaky, and I was like, I drafted a skill position guy, and I let Haskins fall to where I thought would be my next pick, and he got picked the pick before. So I lucked out there, right? But I still remember I think I might have been talking to Dan at the time. I'm like, I let him slip. I shouldn't have let him slip. Luckily for me, it worked out okay, but sometimes you are playing with fire there.
I'm fairly certain that was a 14-team league too, I think, if I remember correctly. So I'm looking at mine. I have very minor changes, so I'm very happy with, it's foolish to say, oh, my, after day one, yeah, my rankings were correct, I feel good. But there's no situation after day one, and there really shouldn't be, but there's no situation where I'm like, oh, I got to jump him up 5 spots. I got to drop him 5 spots. And that really goes into play talking about landing spots and buying into the talent as opposed to situation, because of how quickly situations change. So for me, it's still Lawrence, Fields, Lance, Harris, Pitts, and Chase I'm flipping. And it's funny because I expected Pitts possibly to go to Atlanta. I certainly expected Chase to go to Cincinnati. That was into my pre-draft evaluation, and they both played out, and I'm flipping it still. So it just gives us another opportunity to reevaluate where we are. But Wilson, Dan, you're going to like this. I think Wilson might be the quarterback, because of where he falls, that I'm going to have a decent amount of him. I think he's going to go quarterback 4 off the board in most situations. And if that's the 107, 108, 109 range, I'm going to scoop him up.
Yeah, I agree, JB. I think Zach Wilson, to Mitch's original question, hey, do you have quarterbacks 1 through 4? As high as I am on Zach Wilson, I don't, because I like those guys like everyone else I'm sure does that I mentioned before, and Harris, Chase, Pitts. And I think, Lawrence is an automatic 1, and, Trey Lance landed in that great spot. So you're going to see Kyle Pitts slip. And I think teams are going to get a value at the rate he's going. And the way the Jets bulked up their O-line after him trading up yesterday to give him some more protection too, that's another good sign.
It's nice to see the Jets actually do something and seem like they have a plan. I know that's big with Dan, and I know it's a different regime. So whatever they did in the past, you can't hold that against them, but it is good to see it. So we talked about the rookies a little bit, if there were any big adjustments. And let me flip back here. Mac Jones and Javonte Williams, I'm flipping them. I'm putting Javonte ahead of Mac. I had it the other way around. I wanted to see that early draft capital, and yeah, first round draft capital for Mac Jones. But if you look at it historically, and Mitch, those are my favorite words, right? Well, when you look at it.
Since 2003.
No, not since 2003. Well, I could do that. But top 10 picks, there is a drastically different hit rate historically than when you get into those teens. And is that a reason I'm knocking Mac Jones? No. Well, maybe a little bit, but it's just a one-spot swing. And I really believe we see Javonte Williams go in the first 40 minutes of tonight's, well, what is it, 7 minutes per pick to start? So we'll say first 28 minutes of the second round here. All right, any other thoughts on the rookies that we've already seen?
So I was just going to say real quick, Dan, probably, because I think your top 12 is really close to mine. Is there anybody besides Javonte Williams you could see getting into your first round of rookie rankings? Because as far as I'm concerned, I don't think there's anybody going anywhere to where I will drop someone out of my first round right now. But that's kind of having Javonte Williams in there already.
So let's say Javonte Williams goes Atlanta at 35, and that's the dream spot. It was a dream spot last year for a rookie. It didn't happen. And then let's say I'm looking. What's a realistic spot here? Let's say Buffalo. Nah, I don't even like that. I'm changing my mind there.
I don't like any of these.
No, but where's Green Bay here in the second? 62.
Yeah.
What if there's a wide receiver that slips? Elijah Moore's not going to slip.
Even if it is Elijah Moore, the best. I can't take him over any of the guys that I have in the first round right now.
I would.
Well, it's because you hate Waddle. But, you don't have Waddle there anyways.
No, he was never there for me.
Well, that's the reason why.
But that's the one. That is the one, that Green Bay. But I wish we had more clarity on.
Jordan Love could make that wide receiver too look really good. Or not.
Yeah.
That is clear as mud right now.
I know.
If we're going by the information, Rodgers will not remain a Packer. I would tilt that way. So I think, Javonte Williams is the big name that's in our first round that I think is going to stay there, unless he lands somewhere real, real horrible or slides more than we anticipate. But I don't have anyone that could bump into it.
No, I can't see a situation because I'm looking. Terrace Marshall, I do think you're right, Mitch. I think there are concerns with the medicals. I really do.
Time out, though. On Terrace Marshall, I agree there are concerns. Terrace. I believe there is concerns. But hey, I had to start us off tonight with the first slip, Terrace Marshall. But he is slipping, but I think he's going to land somewhere. And I would hope people wouldn't fade him on our list just because he slides a little bit. So maybe, hey, the NFL teams are being a little bit cautious. The talent's there. If he could show he's healthy,
well, no,
the
question was bumping up into the first round.
Yeah, no, won't bump into the first. I just don't want to scare people off him too much and say, hey, he's not a second rounder anymore. I think he's a second rounder for sure.
TJ actually brought one up that's pretty good. What about Fairmouth? Because if you're in the 2.0 premium leagues, like a lot of the safe leagues are, or even a 1.5 to 1.75, if he goes early to a good landing spot, I didn't really consider it, but I could see him going at that 112, 201, just because tight end is such a wasteland. I mean,
he said Jacksonville. I 45 circled. That was a pick they acquired through trade. 45 to Jacksonville.
Even if he goes to Tennessee, I would love him to go to Tennessee in the second.
That would be interesting.
Pittsburgh. There's lots of teams who could use a really good tight end.
Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Who's there? Is Trey Burton still there?
They got Burton. I think Mo Cox is still there.
I know he's a restricted free agent.
And there's another one that I don't remember.
I mean,
Jack Doyle, he's there.
Oh, yeah.
It's another one, clear as mud there, Indianapolis. So, I mean,
all right. So veterans from yesterday, are there any? Let's not even.
Nope, we won't bring him up.
All right, James Robinson. That's a give me. But anyone else? I mean, you look at the teams that addressed the skill positions, and we're looking at it from a fantasy perspective.
In a good or a bad way?
Outside of the top, I mean, you have Devontae Smith in Philadelphia. We kind of touched on that a little bit yesterday with the Jalen Reagor, but I think the way people value Jalen Reagor, it's going to have nothing to do with Devontae Smith.
You know, I think his draft pick there, Devontae Smith, I mean, I don't really think it affects anything. Like, they just needed him to go right in there. So you got Devontae Smith, you have Jalen Reagor. Devontae can play inside or outside. You can move him all around. So they got flexibility in how they utilize him. You know, I think he'll become the number one. So I think Rager's more of a number two officially. And you just hope he becomes a good number two receiver to get something out of your pick last year. I don't think it impacts Goddard. I think Goddard remains a stud at tight end. And if anything, I think it helps Goddard, guys. You know, I'm a little more curious, you know, where Zach Ertz stays, goes, what happens with him. But last year, they were kind of forcing the ball to Goddard because he was really the only guy they had late in the season. So now this takes a little bit of pressure off when he can stretch the field to Devontae Smith. There's some upside there in Philly.
Go ahead, Mitch.
I was just going to say one guy who I think I'm actually going to see rising up my board more and more. It's Austin Eckler. Everything the Chargers have done this offseason is amazing. Then they go and get Slater. That offensive line is extremely good now to where it was awful previous years. And I mean, right now I had Eckler below CH, Gibson, Sanders, but I could see Eckler easily going above all those guys, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that offense
I'm
is
bumping him
sweet.
up there.
I think we're going to see some really nice games between the Chargers and the Chiefs. Like some battles in that division. It's going to be exciting.
Kadarius Toney, any negative impact there for the other weapons there? Or is that first of all, I think that was a reach. And again, this isn't you don't think it was a reach?
I love Kadarius Toney. Like now, okay, I'll say this. Should have they went line or a more needy position for their team? Yeah, it's a reach. But if that's what you're looking for, you don't believe in Darius Slayton, maybe. You know, maybe he's just a speed guy that's not giving them enough production. Shepard's kind of a role player that can't even stay healthy and be on the field. Now you got a nice 1-2 punch in a division where you're going to have to score some points. I mean, and I don't want to be a Kadarius Toney homer. I know there's some risk there. He could be a gadget guy. He may not get the volume we need for fantasy football. I just think he's a very good football player that they got that has potential, has ceiling. So, you know, I was thinking about him a lot today, and that
I'm sure
right? In many ways. No. I don't want to get scared off him because of a crowded situation. Like we talked about the talent of A.J. Brown. If the talent is truly there over time, Kadarius Toney could be a very good fantasy player.
But you didn't answer the question. Does he negatively impact the players that are currently on that roster? Or is it a situation you're looking at different contracts that are coming up and that's their guy, but more so 2022 and beyond? Really let him come into his own here in 2021. And he's one of those players that, Dan, you mentioned it. We've talked about it previously. He switched positions just a few years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're going to see Darius Slayton fade into existence is kind of the vibe I got. Shepard's a role player. I don't see him, you know, I think Toney will surpass him and become this team's true number two with upside. I see Owen over there, Toney or Bateman. I had Toney higher in my rankings. They're both in kind of muddy situations. I go Toney based on talent. But that's close, though, because a lot of people like Bateman, and I could respect that argument, too.
I will say on Toney versus Shepard, Shepard's their slot guy. So it's going to be really hard for Toney to come in and immediately get more volume than what Shepard does. But I will also say Toney wasn't a reach, I don't think, NFL-wise. I think in the NFL, there was going to be a team that was going to take him. whether it was a pick or 2 or 3 later, I mean, he was going to go within the next 5 to 10 picks. So I don't know how much of a reach it was. But as far as how he's going to hurt other players on that team, I don't think he does, really. I mean, the 4 or 5 targets he gets a game. I mean, like you said, maybe it hurts Slayton, but Slayton wasn't fantasy viable in the first place. So I don't really think he affects the guys that we care about.
No, and you're right. And I will correct myself because we talked about Tony being the guy that the NFL liked more than the fantasy community. So me saying he was a reach, yeah, I'll say a little error there in terms of my, I guess, definition of a reach. And if Philadelphia doesn't jump New York to take Devontae Smith, we're not even talking about this, because we know I would have been shocked if the Giants didn't go Devontae Smith, but they got a nice haul too for that draft spot where Fields went. So Najee Harris, there were a lot of people, they thought Anthony McFarland was going to have an opportunity. I think we can wipe that out. They're going to run Harris into the ground if they have the opportunity.
A big thing, like, he isn't just Derrick Henry, right? He's not. He can
almost a 10% college dominator in the receiving game.
Yeah, yes. He's completely fine. So as far as that offense goes, I know the offensive line sucks, but he is the running back 1 no matter what for me. I don't care where Javonte Williams goes. He could go to Atlanta. Their offensive line sucks too. I mean, maybe the Jets would be the one to be like, their offensive line's extremely good, maybe, but they have a rookie quarterback. You know, I'm still going to trust Ben to be able to move the ball a lot more than what I expect Zach Wilson to. So I think Najee's like stuck there. And how many touches? 2 healthy wise, 275.
Wait, I was just thinking, I was going through it in my head. I was looking at more for opportunities. So carries plus targets. Mm-hmm. I was going to say about 280 and 280, 290. If we're looking at targets instead of receptions, he's going to be used. And if it's not in the running game, he's going to get some dump offs, because we've seen the way Pittsburgh wants to utilize that quick pass, and it's kind of making up for the lack of the running game.
Mm-hmm. And I wonder too, JB, and I don't know if you've read anything, but I mean, they have a new coordinator in Matt Canada. Is there a little tweak to the O-line? You know, and hopefully they draft someone today. They've signed some depth. It's still a concern, but could schematically they tweak something to get that run game going?
I think a lot of the system's going to be the same. I don't think much of it's going to change. Now, that's just me sitting here saying I think.
Yeah, and I don't mean grand scheme offensive philosophy, but just some tweaks in the way they protect and the way they – we never seen the Steelers like that last year, where they were so pass happy and so far removed from the run game. Hopefully they could get back to it a little bit.
Yeah, at 55, I would be very surprised if the Steelers did not go offensive line. Like, I don't know. Mitch, pull it up somewhere. Is there a prop bet there on like DraftKings or something for the 55th pick?
I'll try to find one.
Do? Because I would be interested to see that, because I would be shocked if they don't go O-line. I see Salazar is in the chat. What's going on, man? So rattling through here, the rookies that have impacted veterans that we saw land in a situation. I mean, Travis Etienne, we're not going to talk about that much right now. Rashad Bateman, I believe he becomes the number 1 in that offense. I really do. I think he's the number 1 from the wide receiver core, but what does that mean for fantasy purposes? Well, I don't want to talk about him, but I think it reduces Hollywood Brown to a low-end flex play on a weekly basis. Do you guys think that's off? Where last week we saw some wide receiver 2 upside, I think it's lower end flex.
To me, he's a DFS play now. He is. You find the matchup that you love. For some reason, Bateman's getting the other team's 1, and that means Brown gets the other team's 2. Maybe that 2 is injured. And then that's when I'm like, okay, Hollywood can take one to the house at any point. So I'll play him in DFS a lot. But as far as my dynasty teams, I don't know how often I'll actually be willing to put him in my starting lineup. And that's kind of my problem, right? I'll look for those really cheap points that I could get from a slot wide receiver, or even flexing in a tight end if I have to.
Dan, this one is near and dear to your heart. I know it's tough.
You know, I mean, he could definitely still be a matchup problem, Marquise Brown. But where we struggle, at least for me, is Baltimore still. So, I mean, like to your point, Mitch, the volume, Lamar Jackson's not going to have to force it to Marquise Brown now that he has another target. I mean, it was Andrews, Brown, and that was it a year ago. I mean, Willie Snead, Des Bryant. I mean, Des Bryant was slipping on the turf. Willie Snead's average. I mean, there was no help on the other side of the field. So now you could spread the ball out, spread the wealth, what little wealth there is to spread. Unless Lamar just somehow surprises us someday, guys, and gets it just a little bit better.
I don't even think it's better. I just think it's the Greg Roman scheme. And I saw a really nice tweet earlier today, and I wish I could give credit. If anybody knows who tweeted this out, please drop it in the chat. But it showed the wide receiver core under Greg Roman as an offensive coordinator in Baltimore and San Francisco back when he was there. And I think it was like maybe one season they were in the top 15 for target share, overall target percentage. And they were like 30, 31, 32 every other season. So not only do we need to see the uptick in volume overall from Lamar Jackson and the Greg Roman offense, we need to see more targets allocated to the wide receivers. And maybe giving these additional weapons, they can help push them in that direction.
I will say one last thought on that. Watching a lot of Baltimore for DFS purposes last year, they did miss touchdowns by like inches so many times.
You told me every Sunday.
Bateman a little bit taller, maybe a little bit more potential. I mean, I'd be excited if I was a Lamar Jackson owner right now, just from an efficiency standpoint, having another weapon. If that team's not pressing like they were a year ago and could get a little bit of that rhythm going, they could have some big weeks.
Yeah, I love Lamar, to be honest with you. I mean, just keep giving him more weapons, that many more first downs, that many more chances to run. I really like it for Lamar.
And I can say I'm sticking to my guns here today, April 30th. Ask me whenever I'm in the situation in a rookie draft. But Rashad Bateman is not. I have him flat. I don't have him up or down from where I had him going into yesterday. But again, ask me when I'm on the clock.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I have it's easy right now when I'm in this Kate Spade notebook. It's easy. Yeah. It's easy.
I'm good that you're sticking to your guns there. Nope, I'm not moving him based off that landing spot. Well, we'll see if you have any second round picks. I mean, that's the first big question here. But if you do, maybe you could get him.
And he's going to slip down people's boards. He's going to slip.
Last point for all these guys. I lied before when I said my last point, so that's why I'm saying last point again. But all three of these guys last year, if you're a defense, who do you stop? You got to stop Andrews and Brown. You don't even care about the other receivers. Now you kind of have to. Boykin even kind of snuck out and got a couple last year, sneaky. But I wouldn't put Hollywood as dead. I think Andrews is going to be a stud again. Again, it's going to be a little bit harder to defend for defenses this year.
Certainly, I'm not saying Hollywood is completely gone, but that lower end flex, if you're in a deeper league, that's where I see him. We want to give a little bit of love to the big guys up front. Mitch, I know you're all about the offensive linemen, and the first one taken, it was your Detroit Lions.
That's right.
I know you said thank you, Miami, for taking Waddle because you thought the Lions would have taken Waddle. I thought even after Waddle went, the Lions would have taken Devontae Smith, but they went with Soul, and this can't be anything but great news for the weapons there, and those weapons being DeAndre Swift and TJ Hawkinson.
Yeah, so everyone's kind of was down on the offensive line, but I think it was already kind of a strength of this team, really, because they didn't have anything anywhere else. So it was by default. But they have Ragnow and Decker as their tackles already. So that means Swole, whatever. I'll learn how to say his name now since he's on the Lions. But he will probably go over the right tackle, which lets one of them move inside. And so that offensive line now is going to be really good. If you give Jared Goff time, he's going to be okay. Like, I think he is a competent quarterback. He's not one that's going to win you games. He's not one that's probably going to lose you games. He's just going to go out there, throw for 250 yards, and you hope you get 2 touchdowns out of him a game. And when you look at that, you have Swift. Swift is in an amazing position now. And I'm having a hard time because, like, everyone loves Jonathan Taylor. I'm having a really hard time not liking DeAndre Swift more than Jonathan Taylor.
I told you if you want to, the pivot play is to move Jonathan Taylor for Swift Plus. And I do think that's doable. I think it's possible. I think it's realistic. It's something that if you feel the way Mitch does, and this goes with any running backs, any wide receivers, any position across the board, Dave chiming in there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Like
Appreciate it.
Dave the dictionary over there with the pronunciation. But when you, and now I'm all sidetracked here. Come on, Dave. You're making me lose my train of thought. That happens very easily. But if you can pivot off of two players, and again, it goes back to our tiers. And for me, I have JT and Swift in the same tier. So if I can go one way or the other and get an extra piece, it's easy money at that point.
They have to get a wide receiver at 41, don't they? Like Quintez Cephas is not a thing, is he, man? So they do, and I'm even a little like closet Brashad Perryman homer here. And they got the Gazelle.
Yep.
Hawkinson's probably their wide receiver one right now by default. But I'm actually in a little tiny negotiation, and like Cephas is like a kick-in kind of guy. Is he anything, Mitch?
Yeah, he actually was pretty good. I mean, the hard thing is if Stafford's throwing you the ball, like you're probably going to look pretty good if you're open. And so it's just, can he get open if Stafford's not the one throwing him the ball? I think he's fine, but do I know if he'll ever be fantasy relevant? I don't think so. But the lines were, when Golladay was out, Cephas was the guy that was there in that position. And he was there towards the end of the season. They kind of benched him for Marvin Hall, I think. But, I mean, I think he's fine.
Fair enough.
So I'm looking through the second round here. And you know me, I'm not even looking at defense. I don't care. We're having
awkward silence.
We're having like 70 picks all offense. And I was looking at it. There was that stretch last night whenever Kyle and Jeremy were on and Justin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of 7 picks were defensive players at one point. Actually, that might have been whenever Bill and Josh were on. But here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I went silent for what, 3 minutes straight?
Oh yeah.
I looked back at it. I was like just sitting there like this, watching the TV. I was tired.
Something.
All right. So again, could the Jets do something at wide receiver 34? Could the Lions at 41? The Patriots at 46? I
think you can name every team in the NFL, to be honest with you, and they could draft a wide receiver in the second round. I don't know if there's one that I will say, no, they won't take one. Maybe the Bengals. I mean, right? But besides that, I mean.
All right. Well, my proverbial money here in the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. In the first 14 picks tonight, we're going to see 3 wide receivers go. That's my projection.
I can see that.
First 14 picks, 3 wide receivers.
Which ones are they going to be?
Now that's the question. I think
Elijah Moore, without a doubt.
Elijah Moore.
Your boy Terrace Marshall.
Agreed.
And then it's the wild card.
Yeah.
Your beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Without a doubt. Yep.
There's a few guys there that are
the real wild
Tyler
card.
Wallace.
Potentially.
I was going to say, I know we're wavering back and forth between the fantasy community versus the NFL and how they view these players, but maybe Rondell Moore comes back in. You know, I don't know. I think he could be the wild card here. He could go anywhere from in 40 minutes here, 30 minutes, or tomorrow.
Yeah. Yep.
It really could be so many different situations. So with Soul, I think I thought it was a great pick. Looking at the offensive line, Chargers, we talked about that. Slater joining kind of revamped offensive line. Now they have the highest paid center in the NFL. Obviously, salary doesn't always equate to production, but in this situation, it fits our narrative because we like Justin Herbert, so it's going to equate to production. And then the Jets, we talked about it. For the Chargers, we talked about Eckler as well. But for the Jets, it seems like they're doing things the right way. Is this a Jamison Crowder season again, Mitch?
I don't know. They have like 6 wide receivers there. They could. I mean, sure. I don't think Crowder's getting off the field for any of those guys, but I don't know, man. This is like my last year, I think, of actually being able to start him on a weekly basis.
Yeah, but I think it's promising because they went Vera Tucker, is that it?
Mm-hmm.
They went at 14, and I think it's just a great opportunity for a landing spot for a rookie.
Yeah.
I really do. And if the Jets don't go Javonte Williams at 34, they go in the third. And there's a lot of options. I think Trey Sermon, Dan, if your boy Trey Sermon gets third-round draft capital and early third-round draft capital to boot, where are the Jets in the third? Do the Jets have a third?
They might have moved it on the trade up for Elijah Tucker yesterday.
Yeah, the Jets aren't snagging anybody. So
yeah,
if they want somebody, I mean, they could always make a move. Yeah, they're not here. So maybe Javonte Williams at 34. Maybe that's the play. And then Vera Tucker, Mekhi Becton. We'll see what happens. And
don't stop there with the offensive line. The best one is
Leatherwood.
Yeah.
What a name, Leatherwood.
It's so good for the Raiders to keep picking like second round guys in the first round. It's really good. I like that it's just an annual thing. Just plan on them reaching on someone who's, probably going to be okay, but never elite in the first round.
Dan, what are your thoughts there? Because they had to do something because they had the mass exodus from their offensive line here over the offseason so far.
I love Alabama and Clemson guys too, but Gruden does find a way to pick them quite early. We saw it with Ruggs last year at the receiver position. It's just, man, I believe there's better guys there. It's a need. It's without a doubt a need, but they could have got him later. That was a little bit of a reach.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the reach of the draft to me.
Would you have liked to see them go somewhere on the defensive side?
Just go Barshaw.
That's the next one we're going to get to here in Minnesota.
They need a lot of help on defense. I mean, that's
right,
definitely where I would have seen them go.
Well, especially in that division.
Mm-hmm.
You have 4 games, now almost 25% of your regular season schedule with the expanded regular season against the Chargers and the Chiefs.
And John Gruden's a smart football coach, and he could game manage well, so you got to get some defense there to help stop the bleeding a little bit, because there was some bad mistakes last year. They lost some tough games because of defense.
So we got 23 minutes. I didn't rattle off our guests. We got to introduce them here. Dave Wright's going to be joining us from A Tale of Two Rivals. Kacey Kasem from the Get Real Pod. John from the Monocle Dynasty podcast. Jordan from the IDP Army. Possibly he reached out to me. Might have a conflict, so we'll see what's going on there. Kev from the Double D's podcast. Jacob from RotoWire and New Life Fantasy. He's a Broncos fan. It will be interesting to get some feedback there before we get to another Broncos fan, Linda. And unfortunately, Troy, for some reason, he chose family over us. Really makes you wonder. You think you know a guy. But Linda's going to be wrapping up the show for like 45 picks, I think she'll be with us.
The good thing is she'll know all these players, and we won't know any of them, so it'll actually work out pretty well.
Well, if you're not a fantasy athlete, I'll put my blinders on. Linda can lead us. It's going to be entertaining because I'm sure she got the party started early today. So.
I've been looking forward to that all since you crafted the lineup, and we've had awesome guests. Last night was totally awesome, but there was just, to me, something sentimental about merging Dynasty Theory and FF Confidential. Mm-hmm. And then Troy's got to be romantic tonight and a great husband, as you explained to me, John, which is still unacceptable. Like, I get the kids are out of the house once a year and stuff, but draft day. So Troy, you're my doghouse. Maybe John can play this back for you later. Not that you're not the most greatest human being out there in the doghouse. So Linda gets mad props tonight for showing her commitment.
Yeah, and I'm sure Linda will share her opinion, uncensored, unfiltered. It'll be Dynasty Theory after dark.
You turned it into that last night anyway, so it's all right.
Okay, listen, we're not going to get into that again.
My son was sleeping, so it was hopefully most kids were sleeping at that time.
Right.
All right. So a quick little recap of what we saw yesterday, but now I want to talk about the expectations, the hopes, the dreams, maybe some of those dreams being crushed, what we want to see here in the second round, what our expectations are. We kind of touched on it a little bit here, but the remaining fantasy options that are available, Mitch, what do you want to see happen tonight between the second and third rounds?
I'm actually, well, that was weird. So I was going to go with Javonte Williams, but that's kind of cheating. So, I'm going to go with Marshall. Marshall's been my guy for a while. So maybe he can go to the Saints. I actually like him. Maybe he could fall to the Saints.
What if he goes to Detroit?
Oh, I would love it. Yeah, it's really good. But I don't want, talk about Detroit all night. But
going to realistic a possibility, though. I really do.
The Saints need someone that can stretch the field. I know Traquan Smith is, he's just Traquan Smith, right? But Michael Thomas is never going to be the field stretcher. He's just not going to be. Alvin Kamara is amazing, but you need someone who could get open 15, 20, 25 yards down the field. And if Marshall could do that for him, that offense gets better and better and better, as long as Taysom Hill is not the quarterback.
But I think it makes the offense, you would still have to respect that even if Taysom Hill is the quarterback, correct?
No.
A little bit.
I don't think you have to be honest, because I don't know if he's going to be throwing bombs 40 yards down the field.
Well, could New Orleans be in trouble from a fantasy perspective? You just lost a Hall of Fame quarterback, and it's between Jameis interception Winston and Taysom, Mr. Gadget guy Hill. This is Sean Payton's greatest moment if he could keep this offense a machine and keep Kamara and Mike Thomas's elite talent in the fantasy world. I'm very interested to see how this plays out. Adam Troutman, does he come alive at tight end? I don't know.
Nope.
Jameis is great for fantasy, though. I don't care about the turnovers. We saw what he did with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. Not to say he made them look what he did for them. But
do they use him that way there in New Orleans, John? We might not even see the same Jameis we saw in Tampa Bay and Arians' offense where he likes to stretch it out. And, I don't think Sean Payton's going to put up with those interceptions.
No, but I still think, let's say Marshall were to land there, and I don't know that he does just because New Orleans they're at the back end of the second. But again, if there's something the NFL knows that we're not aware of, maybe those medicals are a little bit more serious than they were leading on. Maybe he does slip there. Maybe he provides that field stretcher. Maybe Jameis Winston is a little bit more in control. That's a long list of maybes, but we'll see what happens because that's what this is. Everything up to this point has been pure speculation. So why stop now?
It is a prime landing spot if you're looking for a receiver to go somewhere tonight. And I am also kind of hoping it doesn't happen. I got a lot of Deontay Harris shares as one of those deep Dan sleepers that never materialize. But
what did I call it? Ocean floor depth, I think.
Bottom of the ocean.
Yeah. All right, Dan, what do you want to see tonight?
So second round, we're excited about those fantasy relevant guys that land in good places. Where do the Elijah Moores and Tylan Wallaces go? What I'm really hoping to see between round 2 or 3 is someone just surprise us. Someone go even earlier than anticipated. A sleeper like our boy Mitch. I'll even say our boy. I'll share tonight. A Jalen Dart.
Hey.
Someone just jump up the boards a little bit and take us by surprise. The De'Ami Browns, the Nico Collins. I'd like to see some receivers kind of make a splash on there tonight. And then I like to see a tight end become relevant tonight. We touched on this a little bit earlier. Pat Freiermuth would be the number one. Maybe Hunter Long. He's kind of my a lot of people's sleeper tight end probably. I like to see him land somewhere really fantasy relevant to add to that tight end pool. And then running back, man. This isn't the strongest class after Javonte Williams, but I love Ramondre Stevenson, Khalil Herbert. There's a couple other guys you can make a case for. Jameer Jefferson.
My grandfather saw them at the nursing home earlier today.
Someone's got to sneak up there, JB, tonight.
But with the running backs, so here's a question for you guys. Sorry, JB, I'll let you throw yours out real quick.
No, you're good.
Are we going to see Javonte Williams as the only running back pick tonight?
No.
Sorry. Michael Carter as well, because I think Michael Carter's going to have some pretty good draft capital.
Trey Sermon, Kenneth Gainwell. We need them all to go.
Oh, I want them all to go. I just don't know if they actually will.
Well, we're going to see 4 go, and I love that post that you had on Twitter, Mitch, and I'm actually surprised it didn't get more traction. I was a little disappointed.
I did do a highlight video. The trick with Twitter is highlight videos, you get likes.
But your question that you posed to the Twitter community was, who doesn't get taken on day 2,
Mhm.
and it was Gainwell, Sermon, and Hubbard, I think.
Uh-oh. Dan might have something here.
Just a quick timeout, John, because it's fresh on ESPN. Ed Warder saying the Broncos are exploring the possibility of drafting a quarterback tonight. Because we're not even talking about quarterbacks right now, possibly going around 2 or 3, which is another angle.
Well,
Broncos?
listen.
Aren't they getting Aaron Rodgers, guys?
Listen, Mitch, if I didn't let you cut me there, I was going to go how many quarterbacks, I swear to God, I was going to say this, how many quarterbacks go in the second round, because round 3, but there's 3 potentially. Davis Mills, Kyle Trask, Kellen Mond. I think those are the 3. And then, what do you mean now?
No, I don't care. They could all be picked 1, 2, and 3 in the upcoming picks. I won't draft them at all.
Now,
All
Mitch, if you have Cam Newton and Andy Dalton and you don't have a first-round pick, those guys might become relevant, all right?
Well, they could, but Chase Daniels probably has just as good of a chance to start as many games as they do.
All right, but let me throw some landing spots. I'm just pulling this out of nowhere, really.
Dak Prescott was a 4th rounder before Mitchell. Sorry, John.
Yes, but he had a solid rushing floor, right? If these guys, maybe Kellen Mond, maybe a little bit, but I mean, look at Jalen Hurts too. Jalen Hurts is really good, but he has a great rushing floor. I just don't see these guys having that same floor.
Well, if you remember when we did our quarterback episode about a month ago for our sleepers, I gave you guys those thresholds, and the guys that produced that were taken outside of the first 2 rounds, I think it was first 2 rounds, they met a minimum threshold for rushing upside. And who were the guys? I think Ian Book and Ellinger out of Texas.
Oh,
those are the 2 that stood out to me. But we're not going to compare any non-first round quarterbacks to outliers like Dak Prescott. He is an outlier, and I'm not going to say any of these quarterbacks are him. But if any of those 3 names that I mentioned, Washington, Pittsburgh, what about Tampa Bay? Those are kind of intriguing.
Who's the guy that went to the Colts? I'm forgetting his name. He got drafted.
Jacob
there.
Eason. That was
Jacob
a 4th
Eason.
round pick, I believe.
Right. But I mean, that's how I see all these guys. There's the Easton Stick, right? These guys just end up going in these rounds, and it's like, oh, hey, he's a backup. Well, and the NFL team is like, please don't let this person start a single game this year. Because if they were starting NFL caliber worthy, they would have been drafted yesterday.
Yeah, we've seen 2nd round quarterbacks get the opportunity. That's all I'm saying.
Yes.
And I'm not saying it's one of these 3. I'm not saying catapult them into the top 24 of your Superflex rankings, because none of them are going to be there for me no matter what happens tonight.
You can't teach heart, Mitch. You just never know.
How many coaching mottos are we going to first one in the gym, last one out, real gym rat, real heady player. Real gritty.
You're talking my language now, John.
I know. But Mitch, your tweet, this is whenever Dan gave us the timeout. It was Kenny Gainwell, Trey Sermon, Chuba Hubbard. And I believe that Chuba is going to slip to the 4th round. I do believe that. And I think Mike and Ray from NFL Rough Draft, on their big board, their top 100, they have Chuba outside of the top 100. And those are guys that we talked about time and time again, that from an NFL standpoint, we trust the opinion they're bringing to the table.
Kenneth Gainwell, I really am intrigued to see where he goes. I know Mitch loves him. We've had good conversation about him, but he's my Antonio Gibson of this year. If he could just get the good landing spot, that'll be intriguing tonight.
Go to Cincinnati in the 3rd. That'd be beautiful, because then I could hate on Joe Mixon forever and just draft a lot of Gainwell. It would be beautiful.
Take that back.
Oh, I'm not taking it back. I truly feel that way.
What about, and this is, I do not want this. I don't. But if one of these guys lands in Seattle, like a Gainwell in Seattle with Chris Carson there as well, I think that's an interesting combination.
San Francisco,
obviously.
Oh, but they traded all of their I don't think they have a 2nd and 3rd round pick.
They have 43.
They have 18 running backs on their roster right now, San Francisco.
And
please don't go there.
And they're content snagging guys in the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th undrafted free agents and making them fantasy relevant. So I don't think they go running back. I'm just looking over here. I think Buffalo adds to the running back room. Yeah, we know Roy hates Mixon. Ugh. All right. I think Buffalo adds the running back room.
I don't want to see Buffalo get one of the top guys we have, like Trey Sermon or Kenneth Gainwell. There's a little part of me that likes Zach Moss, and I don't want anyone to take into that. No one really good anyway.
Miami, they have 36. They have 50. Like, so far, Myles Gaskin, he's a big winner.
Mm-hmm.
Is that going to last?
Yeah.
Is it going to last? I don't know. But 10 minutes here until...
I know, we're like, get through this 10 minutes, because I think the draft actually starts like right on time tonight. They don't have all the presentation stuff going on.
All right, go ahead.
Just to fill some of this 10 minutes, last night I was really concerned about the quarterback situation, as you know. Whether it worked good or bad, I'm glad to have some clarity. Like, I think Jimmy Garoppolo, Cam Newton, and Andy Dalton have now kind of went to that like Tyrod Taylor type range of they're going to have maybe some moments. Obviously, I think all three could play a few games early in the season this year, but they're all about to lose their jobs. And I think we know that, right? I mean, unless a quarterback doesn't materialize.
I still have Garoppolo. I would not have
New England's out.
Can I finish a sentence tonight?
I'm fired up, JB.
I know
you're fired up.
Listen, just because you have the world's best internet connection now, all right?
I'm not used to this.
I know. You're usually Mr. Glitchy over there. But I'm still going to have Jimmy Garoppolo ahead of Andy Dalton and Cam Newton. Personally. Yeah, I know.
I'd rather have Cam.
I know.
Isn't it like situation dependent for all three? Like Cam gives you the running ceiling, so I'm with Mitch there. From that perspective, I like Cam for whatever games I could get out of him.
Out of those three, who has the best possibility to go elsewhere and battle for a starting? I don't think it's Cam.
I don't think it's Garoppolo.
I do think it's Garoppolo. We could go all night on this.
How important are their first, if they start week one? How important is their first 2-4 games till they get benched? As far as an audition for when that opportunity comes. I mean, because you're the point, JB, if Cam doesn't throw any better than he did last year and Garoppolo looks decent in that Niners offense, then JB, you got it, man. Like he'd be the more attractive quarterback.
Yeah.
And Sam Darnold, man, he was a winner last night.
Big winner. Mitch, we gotta start putting together some offers here in our co-managed leagues.
No, we're keeping Darnold.
Wait, last night you just said we were.
I changed my mind though.
He's got job security now.
Well, I mean, really, I wouldn't want to move someone like Darnold now. I'd want to wait till week 3, week 4. Maybe they win the first 3 games. He has 2 good fantasy games in there. I think his value just keeps going up. I don't think it's just this is its peak, because let's say he has a good season this year. He's probably a top 12 quarterback in Dynasty just based off his age alone. And if that's the case, you're probably getting top 20 value right now.
Yeah.
If that Carolina offense takes the next jump, it could be fun to watch. McCaffrey healthy takes a lot of pressure off.
Yep.
All right. So really quick, let me rattle off a few names for rookies that I need to go here. I mean, if they slip to the 4th, they're dead to me. All right. Seth Williams. I don't think there's a concern with Wallace. I think he goes tonight, right? Mitch, Wallace goes tonight.
Yep.
Gainwell. I don't have Hubbard in my top 24. De'Ami Brown. I think he goes in the 3rd.
Yeah, I think so too. And
I'm gonna tell you right now. If Amon-Ra St. Brown, if his name is not called tonight, he's bummed. He's bummed. But listen. This is the last piece of the puzzle. Everything in my evaluation, which is numbers based, admittedly, it is based on the fact that he was going to get day 2 draft capital. If he doesn't, it 1,000% changes things. So Dan's taking a victory lap. Like, what? Sit down.
I'm glad you're putting puzzles together like me. That's all.
I was just going to ask, does your draft capital change if it's a comp pick at the end of the 3rd round, or does that still count as
third round? Still counts as 3rd.
So it's all that matters.
I love
I'm okay with it.
I love how Mitch digs deep like that. Only on Dynasty Theory do we break down the comp picks.
Such a jag. So speaking of comp picks, working our way back, New Orleans, Baltimore, Rams, San Fran, Detroit. Amon-Ra St. Brown at 101. Detroit. It could happen.
101.
101.
Oh, okay. I'm like, wait, what?
No. I'm not. I mean, if anything, Amon-Ra St. Brown is my rookie 102. I mean,
he would be the best wide receiver in Detroit, but
Tennessee,
so would every other wide receiver in this draft.
Tennessee, Dallas, New Orleans, Chargers, New England. So that's the comp picks we're looking at tonight. 5 minutes. 5 minutes. I cannot wait.
I need a daddy soda. I'll be back.
Yeah, go get one. When Dan comes back, I might jump over and get a little brewski.
You better go right now.
No, I'll wait a second here.
You're okay.
All right, you can entertain the masses here.
Yeah, I'll talk for a little bit.
All right, yeah.
Okay, so something I'm going to talk about since these guys left, I can actually talk about it now. Offensive line, right? John hates talking offensive line. But a big thing is there's still some really good offensive linemen left. So even though I've been talking, I hate Mixon, I hate Mixon, if they come out and they get Tevin Jenkins with that first pick, the second or third pick, whenever the Bengals are on the clock, if they could grab him there, then I think that whole offense is going to still be really good. But one thing I am watching over for the rest of the night tonight is which offensive lines improve and which ones don't. Because that's when you could start to get the really good value on players that people aren't valuing yet. Like in June and July of this past year, I was talking about the Raiders, and you need to go and get Jacobs. I was like, get Jacobs. Lo and behold, it was more of a redraft thing just because the Raiders blew it up after the season, but you got really good value on Jacobs if you could have got him then, because Jacobs was pretty good throughout the whole season for you. And just looking at him, you got probably 4 to 5 tackles who could go just in the second round alone. And we haven't even seen the best center go in Dickerson yet. And so, sorry, Dan, I was just breaking down some offensive line stuff, how it could actually help us find some different rushing, running backs that we would like in the draft.
Yeah, it's the underrated piece of fantasy football. We're going to see a lot of offensive line going tonight. So who that will impact in the run games and the pass games, looking forward to it.
So I was just going to say right now, you look kind of the Jets are a really good one. The Falcons are a really good one. And Miami's a really good one. Jets and Miami's offensive line are miles ahead of anything in Atlanta. But Atlanta has Julio and Pitts, and so that running back could probably just be good just because. But those 3 landing spots as far as who I could be targeting veteran-wise after the draft if a rookie doesn't go there, that's what I'll be doing. Like if Myles Gaskins looks like the starting running back behind that offensive line with that skill positions around him, then I'm really, really excited.
What do you I'm jumping in late here, but with Myles Gaskin specifically, let's say they don't address the position tonight. What they do in the 4th round and beyond, I don't care, because Myles Gaskin has shown that he can be that running back. What would you be willing to pay when your super flex rookie drafts are approaching?
Early second. If I have the 203, 204, there's no one there with Gaskins right now. There's not a lot of free agents that are out right now that I'm worried about at all. So they would have to trade for someone. And if they're not drafting one in this draft, I don't see them trading for anybody after the draft. So I think an early second gets it done, to be honest.
Let me ask 2 minutes here before
you're allowed.
We have our first guests here, Dave and Kacey. And we're reminiscing here and bringing some names back. Does Duke Johnson sign anywhere after the draft?
Oh, God.
He's going to.
Yeah, but he won't be fantasy viable no matter what. Because he was given the starting job for a few weeks there, and he couldn't do anything. He was just done. Unlike Myles Gaskin, got the starting job, and he was fantasy relevant. So in my view, Duke Johnson, it doesn't matter if he goes to a great spot, he's not going to be able to produce. And he never has yet.
Poor Duke.
I know.
All right, 1 minute. How many times tonight do you think I'm going to say, I need a player to go tonight? I need them to go. Probably countless times, right?
Especially when we get to the 3rd round.
There he is. But Dave, last year you had music. You're supposed to be upgrading. What's going on?
No Liz this week. I don't know, guys. I'm just moved on. I don't want to try to have her show me up. I want my my analysis to start us off tonight and not Liz take it home.
All right. Well, most people know who this gentleman is. And if you listen to Dynasty Theory, I know you do, because I say his name at least once an episode because of all the data that I bring to the table. I mention Dave Wright at FF_Spaceman on Twitter, host of Tale of Two Rivals. I know there's some other things going on that you're working on, but the database and the spreadsheet, the numbers. So finally there was some balance to the show because these guys, Dave, they gang up on poor little me because I'm talking about analytics. I'm talking about numbers, and these guys, they don't want to hear about numbers, but I'm happy that you are joining us tonight. What is going on, Dave?
It's draft. I've been just basking. A lot of people were saying how they were just felt the day was dragging. This day actually went at a perfect pace for me because I just was sitting there thinking about how much I enjoyed the night before. And I'm just trying to enjoy this whole experience because this feels like the first event I've seen in such a long time since football. I mean, this is what we do. We've been planning for this forever. And I'm here with you guys. It's been a year. This is awesome.
Yep. Dave, I gotta say, I've been waiting for this tonight because Dave, we're glad to have you on here, and I'm gonna give John credit where it's due. He plugs you all the time, man. Like you are his numbers guy, so he gives you rightful credit. But like JB said, whenever Mitch and I could gang up on him, we do too, because I think there was like one error in like your years of stats with Simi Fehoko and his age. Dave, he threw you under the bus so fast, Dave. It was crazy, man. So just be careful when you're out with John. All right, just saying.
All right. Well, before you drag my name in the mud anymore, we have another fantastic guest from the Get Real Pod, Kacey Kasem. Kacey, what is going on? Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Just chilling, having a good time, and excited about this whole draft thing.
Now, Kacey, I don't know if you can tell, but you have another Cowboys fan on the pod tonight.
I see up there.
Dan, Kacey,
Welcome,
Kacey,
Hello.
Dan, she is also a Cowboys fan.
Kacey, you can stay on all night with us, Kacey.
Dope. I don't know if my wife would like that, but
Hey, it's draft night. It's draft night here.
yeah. I tried that one.
So, they didn't work.
Yeah.
So, Kacey, I got to ask,
Yo,
what surprised you the most from day one?
man, I know the first thing that really made my jaw drop was when the Cowboys and the Eagles traded picks. So, like, what? When does that happen? So, so that was just like a moment of the draft that was probably like, wow. And then like when it came to the Cowboys pick and like the guys I thought we're going to get, we're gone. Yeah.
And it was interesting. I liked it because the way the draft laid out, you had 3 NFC East teams back to back. And it's like the Eagles knew the Giants were going after Devontae Smith. So they got to jump up and get Devontae Smith. Cowboys get the extra third. So it certainly was an interesting moment last night. Dave, I don't want to look back anymore. I want to look ahead. What do you want to see tonight? It could be a specific player to a team. It could be a team targeting a position. Not what do you think is going to happen? What do you want to happen?
I am on pins and needles waiting to see where these wide receivers are going to fall. There's a lot of talent still left on the board. I think we're going to have some talent go second round, third round. We're even going to have some of these players slip into the fourth round of this draft. I cannot wait to see where these wide receiver landing spots are, what kind of capital they get. Because as of right now, I have not moved a lot of my wide receiver ranks because second round draft capital is still significant where I'm not just going to automatically go with the draft capital. So that's what I really want to find out is how these wide receivers are going to stack up against each other.
Was that Dan?
It was a meme. Why you always gotta yell at me, JB?
'Cause
It's not always my TV.
Your TV's always up.
It was me. I just put this TV in here last night, and so I like, yeah, I didn't
leave it to the Cowboys fans to mess up.
Hey, don't pick. No one picks on Kacey here. All right, no
there
one
we
picks
go.
on
Like
Kacey
exactly. Thank you.
Oh,
man.
come on. So Kacey, what do you want to see? What player are you just so focused on tonight that you're on the edge of your seat waiting to see when their name is called?
I don't really. I'm not even sure. Like, there's so many guys still available that I'm just like, wow, I'd be okay with him. Wow, I'd be okay with him. I know that this is not going to happen right here, right now, but Brevin Jordan is a guy that I've enjoyed and loved for quite some time, and I just want to see where he ends up in this draft. Like, where does he, does he go to a team that actually will utilize him? Because we've already seen Kyle Pitts go to a pretty decent spot, so I want to see what happens there.
Kacey, for the TV issue, you just redeemed yourself.
Thank you.
Because I also like Brevin Jordan, and I was catching some heat last night from my fabulous co-host, right, Mitch?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
I don't remember any of that, John.
Yeah, I remember it, to be honest with you. Really don't.
I'll go back and find it. Don't.
Oh,
It's in there somewhere, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Man, so I was hoping they were going to get kicked off at 7, ready to rock and roll, but of course, there's a little pause here. So, Dave, I got to ask, because you talked about draft capital. We know you are one of the number gurus. Because there were several in the fantasy community, but I'm going to put your name in there as well. So you talked about wide receivers. You want to see them go tonight. You want to see them get the 2nd or 3rd round draft capital. How critical for you is it if somebody slips to the 4th? Is that really going to downgrade them in your wide receiver rankings here?
Yeah, it is critical, because once you slip past that 3rd round, you see a significant drop off of hit rates historically, and that's a big tier break. But I'll go YOLO if it's a 3rd round pick. If Rondale Moore goes 3rd round, I'm still going to YOLO him, my wide receiver 2 overall, and I'll just take that value. I don't have to take him at wide receiver 2 in my rookie drafts, but that's just how my rankings will be. But if he slips out of the 3rd round, then I'm just like, I'll stand on my hill, but I'm not going to be taking him in the 1st round of rookie drafts.
Dan, do you hear that?
I heard it. I like the analysis there. Rondale
Dave, I warned you. You throw numbers at these guys, they get the glazed over look.
Hey, Rondale Moore is a gym rat, so I love the leg strength.
His Instagram is really good. That's like Dan's most important thing.
If they're working hard, I like them. Dave's analytics just back it up, so we're okay. We're okay.
So Dan's throwing shade at analytics, but does he realize I have a whole Instagram column in my database, so you can just click on Instagrams and just check them out? So definitely come check that out, man.
Do
you really also? No, it's a fabrication, but it sounded good.
I was like, how did I miss that column? I gotta check that one out. I apparently missed it. Kacey,
Yo,
how? I'd heard Mitch and myself yesterday, but when the Jaguars took Travis Etienne, did you have James Robinson on dynasty rosters? Does that sting you as much as it stings us?
yeah. Right? James Robinson was like the Cinderella story last year. Like, whoa, and it's like, I want to see that happen, in year 2. I want him to have that type of career. And then you're going to bring in somebody. And my heart kind of sunk on that one as well.
It was brutal. All right. So what are we looking at here? Jacksonville.
Hey, while we're waiting, JB, I'm just a little curious as we always get to enjoy our time with our guests. I'll start with Kacey there. Are they like draft boards behind you, like from past drafts, or what kind of cool posters you got?
Yeah, they're old draft boards from, I don't know. There's like a 2016, I think, and I don't know what these other ones are. I got to go back and look.
That's an awesome background. I like it.
It's temporary, but yeah.
2016 is not old there. I thought you were going to say something even older than John and Mitch would have been all over me with the age discrimination jokes. That I'm used to taking. Yeah. And then Dave, some music taste back there, or what do we have there?
We got the Godfather.
I know the Godfather's back there.
Okay.
And then I got the Snowball back there, and some John Wayne, and then over here I got some wrong way. No, I can't even tell which way. William Wallace. But this is after draft season. I got to redo the basement because we got a baby coming, so I got to redo the basement. So spreadsheets are gonna have to take a little bit of a break as I redo the basement.
All right.
Where am I going to get my information? No. The baby has to go play second fiddle to my need for the spreadsheets, Dave.
So I was actually almost late today because I got to see the baby actually kick today through my wife's stomach, and I was like, I wonder if they can type in numbers on the spreadsheet, but no, it didn't work. I couldn't get it to work.
That's awesome, man. You're saying the basement has to be redone. Now, tell me you're still going to have your space. Yeah.
It's if I'm doing the basement, I'm not gonna put like a laundry station or anything back here. No, it's gonna be for the podcasts. Right. It's gonna be for next year's draft as I come back. Hopefully, I'm not kicked off of Dynasty Theory for any bad takes. So
we'll see. We'll find out.
To be determined.
No, because you had a good run last year, Dave. I think you rattled off like 3 correct picks in a row, and I think you took a few victory laps. So
can I ask real quick why 2003? It's the most brought up number on Dynasty Theory, and John loves 2003. And I know you're the cause of this. Is there just stats go back to there, and that's just kind of how you can grab them?
Yeah. So public data goes back to 2000, and then in order to get prospects with at least a decent, call it a snapshot of their college career, you can only go back to, you got to start at 2003, or else you're only getting like 1 season or no college seasons in the database.
So now I wonder, working in higher education, I appreciate the large sample size of data, but we like to bust John because the game has evolved. It's like a different game than it was in 2003. So I'm not sure, Dave. I mean, does that need to be tweaked, or do we just like that large sample size?
So in my database, I actually have a link to all the college offensive data dating back to that. So every season for every team who has a player in there. And you can see how, I think it was 2007, you see a drastic change of passing to rushing. So if in my head, I'm usually comparing players back to 2007, even though it changes even more drastically probably in the last 3 or 4 years. But in my head, that 2007 is the cutoff because there's been a drastic change in passing offenses back in 2007.
So you're identifying those different trends at different times. See, this is why I like people smarter than me, John. They give me all the analytics, and then I just watch the game film.
Casey, I got to ask you, for whether it's rookie evaluation, looking at prospects, or veterans themselves, are you looking at numbers? Are you looking at film? At times, a gut feeling. How do you put it all together?
So I'm what they call the basic bitch, So I do all the basic, I do probably the least minimal work. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah. So of course, when I first started, even playing fantasy football, but just in general, even trying to be in the community, was gut feeling, this. I mean, that worked fine. But now it's more, I don't really sit down and grind film or sit there and plug in numbers. As Peter Howard would say, I hate analytics, but, I love to just listen to podcasts and take in information that other people bring. That's a different twist to, how my thinking is. I love feeding off of what other people have going. I love to take your idea and be like, oh, I like that. Or let me tweak that a little bit and see if it works for me.
And that makes you the smartest person in the room, because you're getting other people to do legwork, and you can seriously, because I don't watch film, but I know there are people in the fantasy community that are fantastic. So,
and they love it. They love doing it.
Exactly. You're my source. I always refer to them. Hey, so and so, they like this, and that's okay. And I think that's a great approach. One thing before we really start getting into the picks here, Jaguars are on the clock. Mitch is going to yell at me the way I say Jaguars.
Probably. I gave up after this long.
That's fine. Casey, you do the Get Real pod, and I know you had Troy King on there, who unfortunately he was supposed to be on later tonight, but he's not able to join us. But what made you want to do a podcast like that? And anybody that hasn't listened to it, a really quick breakdown of what the concept is.
Yeah, for sure. So I knew I wanted to do a podcast first and foremost that wasn't time sensitive, because that was the issue with my last podcast. And I wanted something that would be, at the time I thought would be easier. We'll see. But it's basically, I wanted to do it because I know that there are questions, me being relatively new to this industry, there are questions that I have that I know that other people have. And I wanted to be able to talk to people that like have inspired me or people that have inspired others to like get into this field and talk to them and actually like get what, what's going on in their heads. And a lot of it's the same stuff that, we go through, the bigger guys and stuff and the bigger girls and ladies and stuff, like they have, a lot of them started right where we are, right? So that's what I wanted to do. So I just talked to, basically, to summarize it, I just talked to a bunch of people that are in the industry, whether that be bloggers or writers or, YouTubers, podcasters, so on and so forth. And I just talked to them and just kind of have a nice conversational, interview type podcast where I ask them questions about their life and I ask them questions about, their job in the industry.
And, keeping it real. Hence,
keeping it real. Exactly. We
pod.
play fake football, but I want them to get real. So there you go.
And I think anybody that follows Kacey on Twitter, if you don't, again, that's at the Kacey Kasem on Twitter. For a fact, without any question, that Kacey keeps it real.
I try.
I just want to add to Kacey, what I really think, because I listen to a lot of podcasts as well, as you start listening to these podcasts, you develop a relationship with them as a listener. And I just really enjoy finding out more about them than they just talk about in the podcast. And I sometimes in a 45 to an hour podcast, some of my favorite parts of the podcast are non-football related. I mean, I come for the football content. Right. As you listen to these people for over 2-3 years, and then to hear them on your show and other shows that have done this historically, it's a lot of fun. So I think it's a definitely valuable content. As just a consumer, I really appreciate knowing more about my favorite people in the industry.
Thank you. Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted you guys to really get to know people. So,
all right, the pick is in. Well, the pick might have been in 30 seconds ago. So Kacey and Dave, I got to warn you. I've warned every guest up to this point. I have Hulu Live. It's not really live. It's a lie.
Yeah, I have Hulu Live as well.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of a lag, so we'll see. There's a nice comment there from Aaron.
Yeah, I saw that. Thanks.
There you go.
Thank you.
All right, let's see. Dave, would Rondell Moore going to the Chiefs be good for his fantasy football stock?
I mean, the Chiefs definitely made it clear when they were interested in Juju that they're looking to replace Sammy Watkins in that offense. And then you could see that they really only had Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill at times in that playoff game, and it was a weakness in that offense. So to have another reliable piece, that would be awesome. And I'd love having a quarterback who can hit. Sorry, I'm glued to the TV as well.
No, you're good. You're good.
Who can win in multiple different ways. However, I would be a little worried that Travis Kelce is your only bigger bodied receiver on that offense. But no, if Rondell Moore was paired with Patrick Mahomes, would be ecstatic, because I think you need a quarterback who's adequate enough and can read defenses and hit players like they're designed, like they do with Tyreek Hill, to capitalize that, because even though as much as I like him, he can't fit on every team.
And then DB Tyson Campbell from Georgia.
Thank you. Yeah, if any of you see the pick, please shout it out, because I can't wait 10 minutes for it to come up on my screen.
I agree on Rondell Moore, though. I actually think his stock is going to go up, but I don't know if that stock going up is going to make me want him more. I just really worry that stock is going to turn into the Mecole Hardman of a couple of years ago, to where Moore might be a better player than what Hardman is.
He's my boy Mecole. Come on.
But you even know, like, you start him every once in a while in DFS, and that's just kind of how it is. And I would worry that the next wide receiver coming in, even if he gets the Sammy Watkins role, he's going to be good for a few weeks, and then you just might not see him for the next 3 or 4.
I'm hoping my boy Mecole is a late bloomer there. A little chip on his shoulder. He publicly said there's more that I could do than just run deep. So let's see what happens here on draft day.
We're waiting for the fifth year breakout. I
played basketball with him, John. I played basketball.
Yeah, you listen. That says everything we need to know.
Listen, if Dan can compete with you on the hard court, I don't want anything to do with you.
Yeah, that could be a red flag.
Sorry. All right, but yeah, that was a good question there from Kiwi, because Rondell Moore, that's going to be an interesting one to see where he goes, not just the team, but also the round. And that's a really good question, because Kacey, let me ask you. We all have these these preconceived notions and ideas and values heading into the NFL draft. And we all say it. I'm not going to let landing spot change things for me. I'm not going to do it. I preach that to myself. That's the first thing I say when I wake up and last thing I say to myself before I go to bed. And my wife says, what do you say? I'm just landing spot. But how much is it going to change for you for some of these players that go today or that went yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, landing spot is something that I actually hold a little bit more, in comparison to some people. Like, if they go to a team where I know for a fact they're not going to get utilized, whether it's like a tight end who goes to a team that doesn't use their tight ends at all, or, there's a running back and they're going to have him just be out there blocking and not, there's just so many things that certain guys just, they have that skill set. And if it's taken away from them, there's not a way for them to kind of shine. And it sucks because I think a lot of really good players have had their NFL careers just suck because they didn't know any better and they didn't have a coach that was, and a staff that was playing to their, their greatness. So,
I see that's the one time that I think landing spot can really have a role because you're kind of talking about scheme. And I think scheme is critical. And there are people like the film folks, smarter people look at it from that perspective that see that. And they're like, the fantasy community sees it as a bad landing spot, but it fits the scheme or the other way around.
Yeah.
And I think that's a fantastic way to look at it and something that we have to take into consideration. All right. The Jets are up. Mitch, Javonte Williams.
I was just going to ask, is this going to be the Javonte Williams? Every time we have a new team come up that doesn't have a running back, it's going to be, is this Javonte Williams?
There's 3 teams here.
Okay.
Jets, Atlanta, Miami. Who takes them out of those 3, Mitch? Right now, go.
Atlanta.
Dave? You can also say none of the above.
I would say none of the above.
All right. Well, Dave is off the show. Let me kick him out real quick. No, we want excitement. We want these. I said no defensive players. Get those linemen out. We don't want linemen. Kacey, where does Javonte Williams go? Because he's the best running back fantasy wise in most people's minds that's available.
The Jets.
Oh, so right now. Right now.
Let's call it right now. Shoot your shot.
All right. So we got Falcons, we got Jets, we got none of the above. Thanks, Dave. Thanks for doing the fun. And then Dan, who do you like here?
Hey, us Cowboy fans have to stick together. If there's a team that needs a running back more than anybody, it is the New York Jets. Now, it's early second round. They may be stubborn, but if they don't get Javonte Williams, it's going to get thin pretty soon.
And this is well, no, it's one pick later. I was going to say the same pick that Nick Chubb went to the Browns, which has no correlation whatsoever, just something I'm throwing out there. And it's not even the same pick, so who cares?
I think you're just making it up as you go.
Oh, Nick Chubb, he was early second. Wasn't he 33 or was he 34?
No idea.
Yeah.
Who knows? All right. So
I know he was stuck behind Carlos Hyde. And so for that reason, I faded him because, I'm smart like that.
I wonder how
Travis Etienne is behind Carlos.
Yeah, right.
Just quick Jaguars comment. I wonder how quick the Jaguars become relevant again. I mean, you get Trevor Lawrence, you get Etienne, they got Shark and, LaVisca, Urban Meyer, great football coach. They just draft a pretty good corner here in the second round. They get a lot of pieces quick. Here come the Jets. Elijah Moore.
Is it Elijah Moore?
You always ask me if it's the guy. I just told you it was Elijah Moore, JP.
So Crowder is dead.
You lie sometimes. All right. So Elijah Moore.
Does Crowder get cut before tomorrow?
Ouch, Mitchell.
Kacey, we're right there with you. We love Crowder too. So what impact is Elijah Moore? Kacey, this is you as you're slouched over in your chair. What impact does this have? Because they added Corey Davis in the offseason. They have Denzel Mims from the second round last year. Somebody's got to be the odd man out there.
Yeah, Crowder is like, he looks so old. He's not old, but have you seen that man? That man looks like an old man. And old man's going to be the odd man out. And it makes me really sad because I love him.
My first fantasy football article ever was about Jamison Crowder. And so he is very near and dear to my heart. All right, Dave, Elijah Moore getting that early draft capital here in the second round. A lot of people saw him as their wide receiver 4 coming into the NFL draft. What are your thoughts on him?
I mean, he's a phenomenal player as far as from a statistical background. He's got the age-adjusted production you like, and he passes the 30% breakout threshold at I think 19. And he played and he performed above what the conference averages for wide receivers are. Performs above 24 or the typical successful NFL wide receivers are. So he checks off a lot of boxes. Then he gets the draft capital. He's pretty much a complete prospect as far as analytically he's concerned. And then you think about what this offense for the Jets are going to be. They have a quarterback now. They've got they're building that line as well. When they trade up to 14, they got a lineman, I believe, and they've got now. Who's the guy they Miles? Not Miles. Who's the wide receiver they drafted last year? Mims. Corey Davis now. Crowder's there. There's a lot of weapons there to help Zach Wilson succeed. The Jets could be trying to turn things around, because that's the only thing I can say is that I'm trying not to get too down on Elijah Moore to the Jets.
So, I don't know if you really answered the question. How you went all the way around?
Yeah.
Statistically, he's great, but he's a Jet. And we talked about this in the pre-show. The Jets seem like they're changing things around with the way they're drafting here, and they're building around that foundation and giving Zach Wilson help that they didn't necessarily give Sam Darnold. So where do you rank Elijah Moore, Dave? I need an answer.
Okay. So he was my wide receiver 4 or 5 heading into it, and he's not moving from there. So he's definitely I'd take him over Waddle right now. I'd take him over Waddle. And I know that's a hot take for a lot of people, but I'd take him over Waddle.
It's not, because I would take him too over Waddle. Mitch?
Sorry, I was just looking at the Jets' upcoming picks. They don't have a pick in the second round. In the third round.
Or the rest of the second, correct?
Right. So I'm thinking they have Tevin Coleman there. They have P. Ryan, right? Isn't that the rookie that they got last year in the third?
Michael,
fourth?
Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So right now, those are the kind of backs that I'm looking at that I'm going to go right down on a sheet to the, off to the side, being like, if nothing happens for the rest of the night tonight, throw out some offers for them tomorrow morning.
Now, my thought was like a Chuba Hubbard goes in the 4th round. That could be somebody that lands in New York in the 4th.
Could be.
Second pick of the 4th round. I would need to see who they take there, Mitch. But it's kind of like the 49ers all over again. It sounds like they have that same philosophy. Hey, we'll figure out the running back position. But, boy, that offense is starting to get intriguing. My boy Zach Wilson, stock keeps rising there.
Wait, was there a trade? Okay, so Denver traded up to this pick. The 40th pick and the 114th pick for 35 and 219.
Davis Mills.
I was going to say, is this Davis Mills?
I would laugh so hard.
Who do they want that bad?
Kacey, do you think they can count on the combination of Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater?
No.
Okay. Kacey, that was aggressive. Come on.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I'll let you finish your question before I speak. Here we go.
No, you already broke my heart. Anyway, so
Sorry.
Can they count on Drew Lock, Teddy Bridgewater, or is this a quarterback right here?
It's probably a quarterback right here, but it'll probably end up being somebody that totally buzzed. Sorry, guys. We'll see who they choose.
Shefty said they were thinking about a quarterback tonight.
Oh,
Yeah, I know, Dan. You brought that up earlier.
Good
Thanks.
source. Boy.
Ty Johnson still in New York. That's a good call there.
Okay.
All right, so we have Denver moving up here. Atlanta drops down to Denver. Does anybody have the pick yet?
Coming.
Not yet.
This is riveting.
Yeah, my guess is it's going to be Tevin Jenkins. That's my guess.
Javonte Williams.
Wow. Melvin Gordon just died.
Oh,
that was a quick death.
Wait, gonna be above for a win.
Yeah.
Gonna be above for the win, baby.
Hey, that's not fair. I picked the spot.
Oh, Dave. Holy cow. All right, Dave, let me ask you, because we talk about landing spot, and Mitch just brought it up, and obviously it was not the correct move, but some people felt this way when Nick Chubb. And wow, we're talking a lot about Nick Chubb tonight.
You're
But when
talking
Nick
a lot
Chubb-
about
when he-
Nick Chubb tonight. I love
Casey
you.
just keeps yelling at me. Oh my
No, it's love.
All right. So when Nick Chubb went to Cleveland, it's a crowded backfield. There's Carlos Hyde, there's Duke Johnson. I think, is there a chance that people look at this situation and think, okay, Javonte Williams, at best it's a timeshare with Melvin Gordon. Do you think he could slip it all?
I think that was a question for me. That was, but I don't think he would be. I don't think he's slipping out of the. I don't think he's going past the 201 in Superflex rookie drafts. I think he's between that 110, that 201, because Melvin Gordon, he's hitting that. He's getting close to that age cliff everyone talks about for running backs. A lot of mileage, some injuries, lower body injuries. No, I think this is ideal because everyone a lot of narratives. You have to think about narratives too when you're talking about slipping. People love it when people trade up and they target players. So I don't think that would be another thing that wouldn't let him slide in drafts.
That I like that you bring that up because that was a big thing with Darrell Henderson, correct? Didn't they trade up for him, I believe, whenever the Rams took him? Dan, do you like this for Javonte Williams?
That Denver old school head coach, man, he loves to pound the rock, a very balanced offense, take a little pressure off the pass game. For us in the fantasy world, oh man, I do. Maybe not immediately. Like I think Melvin Gordon still has gas in the tank. I think you have a 1-2 punch there. I mean, they try to do that with Melvin Gordon and Phillip Lindsay. Javonte Williams is better than Phillip Lindsay. How much I like it in round one, I like Dave's take. I think that sweet spot's 110 to 201. I think he's got a bright future. But Melvin Gordon's going to eat into that. It's another one of those 1-2 combinations. Just a matter of who's the one, who's the two.
You're going to have to ride it out, I think, for 2021. And I still think he goes before, like Dave, you mentioned that 111, 112, 201. I think he still goes before that. Kacey, the big thing here, I think a lot of people would say of Najee Harris as their running back one. But you're on the clock. You're taking a running back. Do you take Travis Etienne, who has James Robinson there, or Javonte Williams, who now is paired with Melvin Gordon?
Probably Javonte, because why do I have that? Oh, because guys, it has been a long day. But yeah, I think I would go that route, and I think that because Gordon's age would be my factor.
I like that. And this is the last year of that deal for Melvin Gordon, right? It was a 2-year deal.
Yeah.
Most likely, this is going to be it. So Dolphins pick is in. Has that been announced?
Here it comes.
As we're waiting, I'm just going to say,
Javon Holland, safety of Oregon.
All right, another defensive player. Come on.
Well, as we're waiting for that defensive guy, I'm going to slip in that Royce Freeman is a better prospect than Javonte Williams. So there we go.
Now, is that because he was a good prospect? Javonte Williams is a little unique because he was a converted linebacker. Like, does that factor in there, or does that mess with the analytics a little bit? Because he's kind of like a late bloomer. Like he's definitely a little raw, but there's talent.
See, this is why I come on Dynasty Theory, because I learn something new every day. I did not know he was a converted wide receiver prospect. That is something that, like, when I evaluate Kadarius Toney, he falls into a certain group of players that change positions. Like Brandon Marshall changed positions.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill had a positional change. Wes Welker, I think, flirted with running back. You've got a certain type of players that fall into it. So I need to take that into account when I'm doing it. But running backs, I care about immediate production. So I want that first couple year window to get the max points. And so I don't necessarily play in for running backs, more other positions like wide receiver. I'd care a little bit more.
So, Casey's going with Javonte Williams. Dave, would you also go Williams, or are you going ETN? I'm
going ETN. Yeah, I'm going ETN because 25. That's better draft capital than freaking. I'm blanking on last year's rookies, which is weird because I'm on the Rookie Fever podcast. But,
Swift, Taylor, all of them.
CEH. That's how. Yeah, I heard that everyone from last year, but to be higher than CH draft capital, and they're going to use him, and he's got the type of.
The Bengals are trading out of 38 to the Patriots.
I have the Eagles right now on mine.
I know, but up at 38.
coming up.
They already moved that pick.
I bet the broadcast is behind and the Eagles pick is already in. They just haven't caught up with it yet.
Yeah, Eagles pick is in. Cincinnati is going to trade out to the Patriots. Is that for a wide receiver?
Wow.
I bet they go lineman. Patriots need a lineman.
They need defensive end help as well. They need to get. They need a pass rush. But I mean, if they went Rondell Moore, baby, I think that Rondell Moore would be a huge pick for them. To take over for Edelman.
Kacey, do you think there's anything good coming from the Eagles here, fantasy wise?
For fantasy purposes?
With this pick in particular.
No, I don't think it's going to be anybody that, at least not for on the offensive side of the ball. Let's see.
We don't want to insult those IDP folks.
I don't want to. No, last night I was on with some, and they're a special fiery group.
I feel like all of like the niche, like Dan, Mitch, and I were very super flex oriented, and I've had heated debates. Oh, how could you play with two quarterbacks? I'm like, hold me back. I feel like everybody that's in those niche categories, they get that way. So I can relate to that.
Mm-hmm.
Except IDP people, they're not saying hold me back. They like draw a knife on you, like you want to go, punk.
This is going to shock the world, but I've never thrown a punch in my life. So I don't know if I'm somebody that should be getting into fights. I've been punched in the face, and that probably doesn't surprise people either. Anyway.
John's a lover, not a fighter.
Street gangs over here, fantasy football street gangs.
Right. It kind of is on Twitter.
Style.
It's like that scene from Anchorman where all the different news channels, that's essentially what it is. All right, is this pick? I know the pick was in. Did they make
We're still at a commercial on ESPN.
Those are fine.
Let's see here.
Eagles need secondary help bad. That's what I would predict here. And the Patriots trading up. I wonder if they go for that Notre Dame linebacker who's JOK. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce his last name. His name.
I thought I was going to say Rudy.
No,
not the one I was thinking. I met Rudy before though. The real Rudy.
Did you?
Yeah, he was
Sean
a guest
Austin,
speaker.
I thought you were going to say Sean Astin. Packy in the chat. Time to play some IDP. We have a great Discord group, and Packy's in there, and he's our resident. I wouldn't say like hardcore IDP, but certainly more than us, and he's trying to convince us one day. It was brutal. I mean, these are just 7 minutes, but yesterday I felt like with some of the trades, like there was 20 minutes in between picks, and I'm like, well, what do you guys want to talk about?
Yeah.
My biggest thing was trying not to watch. I'm like, oh, I really want to talk to everyone. I'm excited to be on, but I'm finding myself just watching TV on a stream, and it's like,
Dan was reclining back on his sofa there.
Oh, that was hilarious. Yeah.
He was pretty much horizontal at one point.
Here it comes.
All right. Dan's always a second ahead.
I don't know who this. Oh, Mike Golick. Wow, he thin up.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Life after football.
Holy.
it's those frozen meals that he eats.
Wait, he's on one of those weight loss commercials, isn't he?
The
like Nutrisystem.
Nutrisystem. Yep.
I need to get on that. Jesus.
It's expensive, man. It's like $500 a month.
Yeah, I'm not going to get on that then.
Yeah, I'll just spend $500 on Taco Bell.
Right?
Wow. Landon Dickerson,
Who
offensive
is it?
guard, Alabama. Landon Dickerson. That's a good pick.
Oh, yeah, they needed center help.
All right.
I mean, we talk about some of the bigger winners from a veteran perspective, bolstering that offensive line, getting Devontae Smith, not targeting quarterback. Jalen Hurts has to be, I would say, one of the early winners here in this 2021 draft. Dan, I know, again, I know it's close to your heart here, but I think you would even have to agree there.
What's that? What was the question?
Hurts is good.
That Hurts is one of the main beneficiaries. Do you see, Dave and Kacey, do you see the crap I have to deal with here?
I was studying interior linemen, John. You know, I'm keeping up with the picks here. I know it's not a skill guy for fantasy, so you know, I was doing my part, JB.
But that's why I'm in corner creating an offensive line improvement in Dickerson to helping not just Jalen Hurts, but Sanders. We see some Sanders hype in the chat from Packy and Roy.
Yeah, when Wentz was traded, that was the first boost to say, okay, Jalen Hurts is a thing. We needed a little more insurance. We got it yesterday. They didn't do anything crazy and take Fields. Now they go and get, Devontae Smith. They get Landon Dickerson. They're building the offense around him. So I think they're all in. He's a running quarterback. There's upside. He's got to keep growing, though. We need to see that development. We need the Eagles to stop being dysfunctional to see this come to fruition long term.
Dan, I usually care about guard play when it comes to the running game. Does the center play a big part of it too for you?
It helps with a lot of the calling of the defensive fronts. You want a really smart center. So it definitely helps. And it depends who's, you get a young rookie guard. It really helps a lot when you got a veteran center that's going to help bring him along. So it's kind of piecing it all together of, helping a quarterback, helping the guard, the lineman next to him. So, yeah, it's not the most important position on the O-line. I think you could, dig deeper in a draft and you could find centers a lot more easily than you could a tackle that's going to protect your blind side. But it's an important piece.
So look.
I was just going to say that Eagles coaching staff kind of like they had the press conference. It was kind of like the laughingstock of the NFL, right? But if you look at the draft they've had so far, NFL wise, they've had a really good draft. This could be one of those to where everyone kind of mocked their coaching hire. And then 2 years later, we're like, oh, wait, they actually have the best head coach of, that whole carousel.
Starting to hear good things about
New
him.
England went defensive tackle.
New England had a lot of holes.
Christian Barmore, that's a good one.
Yeah,
In the
Barmore.
run game.
Another Bama boy.
It's rare. I don't think you usually see Alabama players get drafted, right?
No.
I feel like every other pick, it's just Alabama. Alabama, Clemson.
Coach Belichick was on with Coach Saban. He's like, all right, who am I taking? Thank you. Christian Barmore's for real? Yep. That's a good one. And I think New England bounces back quick with all those free agent signings. They were the most hit team with COVID last year. They had some injuries. Lady Luck's a little more on their side this year. You get everybody back. It'll be interesting to see how the quarterback situation plays out, how quick Mac Jones could come around.
My issue is the rest of the teams that division are kind of doing their job now too. Before it was the Patriots and no one else. Now Miami's looking like they know what they're doing. The Jets are probably a little bit slow of a rebuild, but Buffalo's the head of that division. And I mean, we talked about the Saints earlier, but that's kind of how I feel about them. Atlanta could end up being better. The Panthers could end up being better. You already have Tampa Bay, who is better. So a lot of these teams that have always been at the top, maybe they're going to be at the bottom for a little while just because these other teams are finally starting to get it.
We saw that shift a little bit in the AFC as well with the Steelers. I mean, luckily the Bengals are still in the division. Sorry, Scott Connor, if you're listening right now. But, Cleveland kind of propelling themselves and doing things to put themselves in a good situation. And Dan, I got to adjust our intro for Dynasty Theory because in the intro, you're quoted as saying there's too much dysfunction in Cleveland. And now they're kind of turning that corner. So I think we have to reevaluate there. Kacey, are you as optimistic? Dan saying maybe New England, they can get back on track. Are you as optimistic there?
I think they can get back on track too. It's just a little bit of a hiccup with last season, but I mean, I would like to echo all the comments. I think they're just I think once Mac Jones gets, acclimated, and it is going to be interesting to see what happens there. But yeah, I think they're doing the right things to try to get back on track.
And with Bill Belichick at the helm, you can't count them out. I mean, I think it'd be full
draft wise. You sure can.
Could you imagine if Bill Belichick if they ever had a good draft?
I know. They just want one good draft. They'd be okay.
No good drafts and still look at the resume.
Yeah.
They're off to a great start because that Barrymore is a first-round grade, and they got him to start the second. Now the Bears traded up here. They're on the clock.
I can't believe the Bears traded over the Patriots to get Justin Fields.
The Bears got Tevin Jenkins. It's on ESPN's draft app already, which was time. He was going to have to go sometime soon.
Yeah, I see why these guys are trading up.
Yeah, that Chicago deal. And I was asking these guys and some of our guests last night what they thought. do you think there were like other teams potentially looking to move up and that's why the Bears came in so heavy? Or do you think they were just like, here's an offer, boom, let's go?
I think they had to beat the Patriots. The Patriots probably were at least sniffing around. They had to have been.
Yeah.
So they had to beat the Patriots, and you have to come from 20. So you have to give them a pretty decent deal to beat any deal from 15.
There's a comment from Aaron in the chat. Bears are having a hell of a draft. I like what a lot of these teams are doing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there are too many teams that you can look at it and say, what was that? Except for Mitch.
Sorry, I'm playing in chat. What's up? I'm being involved with the listeners, John.
Every team pretty much, I think, is having a solid draft. I said, except for
the Raiders.
Yeah, that's the answer I was looking
It's always the Raiders. Yeah.
I like how aggressive this second round's been. I mean, you have 3 trades in the first 7 picks already, getting guys that potentially had first round grades.
So
now the Falcons picks in. Did Denver trade again?
I don't know. This is like
Yes.
rapid
Oh, wait, this
fire
is
here. We can't
Atlanta,
keep up.
Denver. Okay, no, so this is Atlanta's pick from that swap.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Got to correct my notes here.
Chicago's feeling pressure. They're feeling they're 2 trade ups. They're feeling pressure to get to win.
They got to fix what's broke there.
Well, if they don't, they're on their way out. That coaching staff,
Yeah, they don't care about that future capital, like you said yesterday, John. Like they'll trade that all. They don't need any 22 picks if they're not going to be there.
no, they're that manager in your dynasty league that is just going all in. Oh, something came up. I got to orphan this team. That is the Chicago Bears coaching staff.
I'll give the Bears credit for one thing is there's some loyalty there. Like they're giving Nagy a chance. It's not that 3 years and you're just done. It's like, okay, hey, not everything worked out. We still like you. We're going to give this a chance. You go and draft Justin Fields. I think we said last night that probably buys them some more time to see how this plays out. So see what happens.
Mitch, why are you getting yelled at?
I don't know. I'm hoping it means Gainwell. I'm just gonna say it's Gainwell until it's not Gainwell.
Atlanta Falcons. Hey man, with Mike Davis, they need a 1-2 punch.
If Gainwell goes this early in the second,
He's the 101.
That would be a nice tandem there with Davis.
shut up, Mitch.
He's at least the 104.
I'd probably take him over. I'd think about taking him over Javonte Williams if he goes here.
Dave, what did Javonte ever do to you? Because clearly there's some bad blood there.
He just couldn't beat up Michael Carter. That's what he did.
Right.
If you have the size, you have the speed, you have the whole package, why couldn't you beat up Michael Carter?
I can understand that. I appreciate that. All right, Falcons, what are we doing here?
They need a lot of defensive help. Quarterback of the future.
Matt Ryan's
Running
the quarterback
back.
of the future. He's playing until he's 60. Hey, my Matt Ryan shares, they live to fight another day.
He was a steal in startups. He's been a steal in startups all draft season because people were afraid of what they're going to do at 104. And to get Pitts, and if they had this running back here, Gainwell out of the backfield, Matt Ryan, he's only 36, right?
Yeah.
Didn't happen. Went defense. Safety.
Oh, man. Got all excited for nothing.
But they make the right, even I can appreciate that. We don't want to see the defensive player, but they make the right pick for what they need. I mean, that offense, it should be explosive. They just, if they can bolster that offensive line eventually here, we'll see. All right, so we got Richie Grant out of UCF.
This brings up your Lions, Mitchell.
Lions. And
Mitch,
says
what do you want to?
in.
Oh, picks in already? I'm going to go Marshall.
I was going to say, is Terrace Marshall the pick?
That's my hope, is it's Marshall. I just looked on ESPN. They have their number 1 wide receivers being Tutu Atwell. Best available.
Here, Dan, we have a question. Or Dan, Dave, we have a question. Have you done any analysis looking at draft round versus draft pick itself? And has that turned any results?
So it's actually really interesting. And I actually, when Kacey was talking about landing spot and why it matters, it makes sense why it does matter. Is you'll find that I use draft round over draft, just draft pick, because you actually find that as you progress in a round, later picks in a round actually hit more often sometimes than earlier picks because usually they're falling to better teams.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to have actually a better R squared or a correlation to fantasy success that way. However, sometimes you can in modeling you can still get a little bit more with picks, but overall, from a decision tree point of view, I care more about draft round than draft pick.
Dave, let me ask. I want to follow up on that. Tight end. I feel like there's almost some sort of randomness to the position because you look at the players that have done well, the draft capital is all over the board. Have you seen that maybe that's the position where draft capital itself isn't the best indicator when comparing positions across the board?
I kind of just tight ends I struggle with overall because it's a really it does
everybody does that
crapshoot. And I actually, because I struggle with it and because you have to wait so long in fantasy sometimes to have it pay off, I actually don't spend a lot of time looking at tight ends. I will say though that I'm never going to complain about a guy getting first round draft capital over second round capital. Like I always want more draft capital. However, what I would like to do eventually is to see what the type of tight end. If it's more of an all-purpose tight end or a blocking tight end, I think if you delineate these things, you might get more stickiness because same thing with wide receivers. If we could if I had more access to the types of wide receivers, the types of tight ends you might be able to delineate a little bit better of which players have more fantasy success based on their draft round.
I like that answer. There's another trade. Giants traded the 42nd pick to Miami for the number 50 and then a 2022 third. So Dave Gettleman added again.
They're loading up next year. You got that extra first yesterday. Who was that with, John? Oh, Miami and the Giants?
That was with Miami, so Miami's moving up.
Here comes a running back. No, Now, speaking of tight ends, Kacey, is that a Jason Witten jersey I see back there?
Oh yeah, here's Witten. Yeah. Yay. Oh.
Yay.
Also, hold on.
Very nice.
Kacey, you know the way to my heart. Let's see if I can pull it over here. If this turns, yeah, it does. There's my little Witten shrine there. You know, the jersey and the fat head.
Dope.
Love big Witten.
That's red. Like it.
Chris in the chat says Miami's going to go Carter or Gainwell? Question mark. And that's a fantastic last name, Hammerschmidt.
It's a good name.
That is a strong name right there. You would think, but
I don't know if they would trade up for them. That's my issue. Is like
Fran, Dallas, Jacksonville, Raiders, Arizona, Chargers. Is there a reason to trade up there? Unless they just, hey, we want to get our guy.
Yeah,
they need a linebacker too. Another JOK landing spot for my Notre Dame boy.
Miles Gaskin could be one of the biggest winners if they can make it through here. I've been trying to undersell. I've been trying to get him everywhere, just because his price. It was built into his price. A lot of times, these players like James Robinson kind of built into his price, but not really. He was still being valued high. But Miles Gaskin, it was in his price to get him because it was almost assumed that he was going to get running back competition.
This is going to be 2 years in a row, possibly. I don't want to speak too soon, but last year, everybody, us included, Miami's taking a running back early. They're taking maybe not, first round, but second, third round, they're going running back. They didn't. And then here we are again a year later. And Mitch, you kind of mentioned it a few times. I think some of it just to maybe egg us on a little bit and get our goat, but I think there was some truth to that. You were saying maybe they don't go running back.
Yeah, they're one of the teams I think just don't care. Like they're like, we can roll with Miles Gaskins and be fine. Who'd they get?
Got defensive tackle Levi Onwuzurike from Washington, and I probably mangled that last name.
Okay. All right. I don't know anything about him.
San Francisco is trading 43 to Las Vegas.
He graded out good, Mitch.
That's good.
He's the only D tackle you'd probably want here.
This second round is like turning into a fantasy draft. Just trades going everywhere.
Yeah, this is super nice.
I like it. It's going to be wild. The third round is 5 minutes per pick.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'm going to have to catch my breath. All right, so San Fran trades pick number 43 and a 7th round pick to the Raiders for number 48, a 4th round pick, and 50 fab dollars.
I love it. I love it. That's a good trade. That's a good trade.
Casey and Dave, Dan is all about, we talked about it last night. Dan is all about adding fab to every single deal. So,
You know, I try to do that in some of the deals that I make, and I don't think people even do. They give two craps about it. I don't know.
I don't.
They normally don't. It's just.
I'm like, this is some throw in. Like, hey, I'm not doing it under the table. You just right here and take it.
all right, so we got Dolphins pick is in.
Your defensive tackle there, Mitch. He was an opt-out last year. They showed some nice film of him sacking Haskins. Solid pick.
Kacey, do they go running back here, or does Myles Gaskin survive?
I think Myles Gaskin's going to survive here.
Please.
Hopefully.
I
just
have
wanna
him
say-
lurking on a ton of rosters too.
Yeah, I mean,
Those 2 Kenny Gainwell minutes we had a couple minutes ago, I really enjoyed that. I just want to say that was just a really fun time. That Kenny
That's
Gainwell,
good.
it was fun.
It almost happened. It was there.
I felt it.
Yeah. Hopefully it happens sometime tonight.
Oh my gosh! Hopefully.
Offensive tackle. No, defensive tackle. Liam Eichenberg, Notre Dame. Okay, Notre Dame guy.
okay.
That was the Dolphins.
Yep.
Okay.
Gaskin survives.
Wow. Okay. In Miami, they traded up, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right, guys. The hour wrapping up. I said it on every hour last night. Like that flew.
Yeah.
That absolutely flew. You two, absolutely incredible. Kacey, why don't you let our listeners know where to find you, anything you're working on, and plug your content.
Cool beans. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at the Kacey Kasem. I have the Get Real with Kacey Kasem podcast that you can find wherever you listen to your podcast. So check that out. I write for the Fantasy Footballers. We're putting out more content right now because obviously I'm working on some tight end stuff for Dynasty. So that'll be out hopefully pretty soon. It's just my brain is hurting right now from it all.
Well, that's perfect that you're putting out some tight end content. Dave and I will be checking that out because we need some help there. We need that help. So.
Well, I'm not sure it's going to help too much to hear that like tight ends are basically a crapshoot like we've been talking about.
Well, I'm sure there's going to be some fantastic.
There'll be
tidbits
some
in
good
there.
stuff in there. I'm sure I'll find something.
All right, Kacey, thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank
All right,
you.
Dave, let our listeners know where to find you, the great database and everything you're working on.
Well, guys, thanks again for having me on. You can find me over at Dynasty League Football. I'm a writer there, and then also you can find me on the Tale of Two Rivals, like you mentioned earlier, and then also the Rookie Fever podcast, which John has guested on. So we'll be doing a lot of rookie content over at Rookie Fever, but then also you can find out my Patreon, which has a lot of free databases like the college prospect database that John mentions, but I also have a premium NFL database that has every stat you could possibly want too. And also I'll be sliding into a lot of people's DMs starting next week. Scott Fishbowl Podathon time. I'm going to be doing a lot of fundraising for them. So we're going to beat our goal of last year, or our mark last year of, I think we over 40,000. I think we're breaking 50K this year, saying it right now. And so that's what I'll be, hopefully everyone in the chat, I'm going to be looking for as much help for the Podathon as possible. So here we go.
That's fantastic. That's one of the best events of the year, whether or not you get to take part in Scott Fishbowl. The Podathon itself. I mean, Mitch and I 2 years ago did a 3 a.m. time slot. I was completely out of it pretty much, but it was an absolute blast. But again, Dave, Kacey, thank you so much. That hour flew, and I'm sure we'll be talking again very, very soon.
Appreciate it, fellas.
Thank you,
Yes,
guys.
thank you so
Thanks,
much.
guys.
Have a good night.
That was a blast.
That was good.
All right. Another John is joining us. It's just such a fantastic name, a very unique name. You rarely run into another John.
Don't
But-
have early enough.
John from the Monocle Dynasty podcast. What's going on, man? Thanks for joining us.
How's it going? I'm excited to be here, guys.
We
John,
are.
he has to keep the momentum going, guys. We had like 3 trades, 6 teams swapping. So, John, you got to keep it going here.
Well, so I actually have insider info, and I know all of these things like going down like 10, 15 minutes before they actually go down. So I don't know if you want the insider info or not. But
Well, I think we need that right now. So what can you tell us?
I can tell you what the Raiders' pick is.
Okay.
It's Trevon Moreg, or however you say his name.
He's a safety, isn't he?
Yeah, that's a really good pick there. Best safety on the board.
Is that sleeper sending him out to you?
No, it's actually a friend of mine works for the NFL, and he's sending.
Oh,
me
that's
all-
awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna need that phone
that's
number
sweet.
and email address. No,
I actually know who the Cowboys pick is too. So
Easy
We'll
now.
wait
easy
for
now.
Dad on that one.
all right, yeah, we'll wait for the Cowboys there.
I know that's what I'm saying. It actually it gets so far ahead that it actually kind of gets crazy. It's like there was a couple of the picks that I knew a trade before. Like 3 picks had to go by before the trade even happened. It was kind of crazy.
That's awesome. I need better friends apparently. Here, so I want your. There's a question in the chat that there are people they are concerned with Denzel Mims and his value and possibly production because the Jets drafted Elijah Moore. Do you feel that way? And who does Elijah Moore negatively impact the most on that team?
Honestly, I mean, I would have loved Elijah Moore to go to somewhere else, but I don't think it's a terrible thing. I mean, Zach Wilson's going to have no excuses whatsoever. I mean, he's going to have such an offense to work with, but more importantly, they all play different positions. You're going to have Corey Davis and Denzel Mims on the outside, and then you're going to have Elijah Moore in the slot. So I really don't think it's going to hurt anyone in particular. And I mean, if that offense truly does click, it really could be good for everyone. It might limit his upside as far as Mims. And I've been a big Mims supporter, so I definitely don't love it, but I don't hate it either.
So what I'm hearing is that if you are a believer in Denzel Mims, this might give you an opening and an opportunity to acquire him at a fairly solid discount.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I think it might hurt his ceiling. Maybe it hurts all of their ceilings. But I don't know that I'm like they're still going to. I think all 3 of them will actually be pretty good for your, or at least somewhat productive for your fantasy teams, as long as Zach Wilson actually hits. I don't know how you guys feel about Wilson, but I think he's a little riskier than maybe people want to believe. But I do like him though. I do like him.
Mm-hmm.
I have him at quarterback 4. Dan has him at 3. 2, 3, Dan?
Who are we talking about? Sorry.
Wilson.
Zach
Yeah,
Wilson.
he's my 3.
And then Mitch is there at 4.
Yeah.
So would you be confident in siding him in before Mac Jones, John?
Oh yeah. I have him at 3, but it's really close. And I'm more of the analytical numbers approach like you are. So when you're actually looking at the numbers, like they're literally like back to back. I mean, it's not even like you could probably flip a coin and just be like, okay, I'll take either one. But I would say Wilson probably has a higher upside than Mac, but Mac's probably a little safer in my opinion.
And I know, Dan and Mitch, I know what you're thinking right now. JB, it's interesting. You made the guest list, and it seems like every person you have on comes from that analytics background approach when looking at fantasy football. I can say it is a coincidence.
Yeah, I don't
is
believe you.
It is a coincidence. But one thing, John, you put out some rankings, but it wasn't just rankings. It was based on analytics and inputs and different things like that. Let our listeners know about that, because I thought it was a really interesting, information provided on Twitter, but a series of tweets that you threw out there.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Like I created a couple different models, or actually 4 different models, all one for running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, and quarterbacks. And I actually your previous guest, FF Spaceman, he actually nicknamed my model Beth. Because I'm sick of saying the word model. Like I say it over and over and over again. I think people, my listeners and people and my followers are more sick of it than I am. But so in Beth, I put all these stats and everything into it, and then it spits it all out. And it does make it very easy, because I can go through an entire list of players in 5 minutes now that I have all the formulas and everything. I don't even have to watch a single down of college football because I don't have time to. I love the people that do. I just don't. I have 2 kids. I have a business to run. I have a life to live and all that kind of stuff, as much as I would love to. But
a life to live, what's that like?
Yeah. Long story short, I put out all those rankings. Actually, I put out my first 4 rounds of rookie rankings yesterday, and that was all based off of the model, and it was all pre-draft. Obviously, we didn't have, this is before the draft started yesterday, we didn't have any actual draft capital or anything like that. So it was just, I thought it would be interesting to see what changes. And all just in that first round, I think we've seen some changes. Rashad Bateman going to the Ravens, and Kadarius Toney going to the Giants at 20. All that kind of stuff. Like things happen, and they're going to be a little different. And that's when the human approach, or the human side of it, has to go in and say, okay, how do I feel about this? And then make small adjustments. I'm not going to move somebody up a tier or down a tier, but I might move them within that tier.
And we've talked about that, the impact that landing spot has, whether it's the team itself, whether it's the scheme, but there's always that level of subjectivity that comes into play. And that's why I like analytics, because for me, it's objective. There are inputs, and that's something whenever Mitch and I, we did the projections last year across the NFL, and yeah, to an extent, we tried to keep it as objective as possible because it was all based on inputs, historical data. I came up with the confidence intervals, and Mitch just says, yeah, JB, that looks good. That's good. But then we, of course, had to throw together what our opinion is. And there always is that level of subjectivity. So I like that you mentioned that, because you have to throw that in. Whereas people like Dan, who rely more on the film, and there's nothing wrong with that. I know I get my jabs and I give them a hard time, but I always say we got to blend the two together. And just like you have certain people you trust, I'm the same way. But I think that's fantastic. And based on the draft capital we've seen and the landing spots, I'm sure you haven't been able to punch it all in. How do you think the top 3 running backs, if any, have changed for you? So Najee Harris, Travis Etienne, Javonte Williams.
I don't think that, I don't think they really truly changed. But I guess I probably would have Harris and Etienne almost like a coin flip at this point, whereas I had Etienne above Harris before the draft. But now I might lean Harris a little bit. Obviously you have a lot of question marks with a brand new head coach in the NFL, and a brand new rookie quarterback, and just a team that has a lot of needs with Etienne. And then obviously you have the J-Rob part as well. But with Harris, I think there's also more question marks than people. Like, people get really excited about Harris going to Pittsburgh, but they don't think about the offensive line and certain things that have changed and happened there. And obviously Big Ben and his arm. So I don't know if it's as good of a landing spot as people want it to be, but it's still a good landing spot. Like, he's obviously going to get the rock. He's going to have that opportunity, and he's going to do, like, I'm not worried about that at all. So I think those two are going to be really close. I might lean Harris at this point. Williams was always the third, and I think that's not going to change for me. I just don't think he's in that same tier as those two. But I would still take him maybe, late first, something around there.
That Pittsburgh point, a lot of people, they like to think that Pittsburgh is still this fantastic landing spot for running back, but the Dynasty Theory listeners, they've known for a while that it might not be. I don't want to say it's the Johns here connecting, telepathically, but something's there.
I don't know, Bauer. You promised me there would be wide receivers picked. We've gone like 10 picks, and there's been like 2 skill positions gone.
And that's why we're talking about. That's why we're talking about the work that people are doing. You can tell I'm straying away, and Dan's focused over there. Dan's looking at his big board right now.
I had to get my cowboy moment in there. They take Kelvin Joseph, defensive back out of Kentucky, an LSU transfer. I think they're, he's got to keep his nose clean. Him and Parsons, man, it's kind of some interesting picks Dallas has taken. Very talented defensive players where they got to fix things, but guys that got to keep focused. And then Jacksonville, building the line there, getting Trevor Lawrence some protection there with Walker Little out of Stanford. So now we'll see. We got the Bengals on the clock ready to pick here.
And I like that when I know we say we don't want to, no offensive linemen, but the players that thrive in, for our fantasy football teams, we want to see them bolster that offensive line. So it is good to see a team like Jacksonville address that. And this pick better be an offensive lineman for the Bengals. And I know John over there, he
already knows. I'm just going to say, I'm going to go with Fairmouth. I'm going to be like, there's going to be a tight end the next two. That's going to be my guess. I'm probably wrong, but
people, I was on one of my happy hour chats before I jumped on the air, and people were getting mad at me because I was ruining the picks for them. So I just stopped saying it. I was like, I'm just going to stop doing it.
John, one of these days, man, I promise you stopped asking me. You don't even reach out anymore. But one of these days, I'm going to get on your happy hour and hang out with you.
It's so much fun, and it was great doing it because we did it last night, and then again tonight. I actually had to take off of work today because I was in rough shape from last night. But...
Yep. Me too, man.
No, but yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, but it's always fun. Anyone's welcome. It's not. We don't stream it. It's a safe place. You can just be yourself and drink and have fun. You don't have to drink, but most of us do. And we talk football, we talk life, we do all that kind of stuff. But it's a lot of fun. It's a way to unwind on a Friday night, and especially in the world that we live in, it's an easy way to get together with people without actually getting together with people.
No, I mean that's actually the first time we really interact with each other. Yep. Mitch and I threw together that happy hour.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah,
and it was offensive tackle. There we go. Jackson Carman from Clemson. All right. That's what I like to see. Maybe Joe Mixon.
Met you.
What was that?
That was how I met you. You reached out saying we're going to do a virtual happy hour, and I sent you. And I said, "Hey, man, I want to jump in," and that was how I met you. And then I kind of kept it going. I did it every week since February of last year.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah, I did that one, and I think that was it.
You're like, yeah, that was done.
And then John takes over. I like it. No, you guys get a solid turnout for that because I see people tweeting about it, like, and not always the same people. It's like new people popping in.
No.
So you guys get a good turnout.
We probably have, I'd say, like 40 to 50 different people that will join at like random Fridays. But when we started, it was like three of us, and now we might have 20 or 25 people on a random Friday. So it's it can get rowdy for sure, but it's always fun. Sometimes it's too much fun.
That's all right. So Chargers here. Mitch, is this your tight end? Is this Pat Freiermuth?
I was hoping, but I don't know. We'll find out. I think we're just not going to see any more offensive players selected for the rest of this round. And then...
Ooh, the Chargers pick is good.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, there's a sign.
I mostly said that because I don't know all of these players. I know all the skill players and stuff, so I don't know all of the other players, and so it's hard for me to say when Jackson, whatever his name was, go. I'm not an offensive line scout or anything like that. I don't have an offensive line model, unfortunately. But
well, I'm gonna
I actually had Thor Nystrom on my pod, and right after we got done recording, I told him about the model we were talking about for a little bit, and he was really excited about it. And he's like, by any chance, do you have an offensive line model? And I was like, man, I would love to get you and tell you that I do. I would love to have that for you, but I do not.
One day.
Yeah, maybe. I just need the stats. If somebody gives me the stats, that's really, because I'm not very good at actually getting the stats. But once you give me the numbers, then I'm good at actually, producing stuff and doing all that part.
Right.
So without giving it away, are you going on this Chargers pick right now? I mean, John, our guest here, has given us some insight. JB, if this pick is good, that means Herbert's got himself another weapon. But at what position? Would three of us want to guess here?
I am going to say, and John, cover your face so we can't get any inkling if we're right or not.
Poker face.
Poker face, John. Poker face.
I'm going to go with Terrace Marshall, and I see a comment, but what about our Mike Williams shares? Well, he's on that 50-year option. He's going to be out of town.
That's your pick, JB? Terrace Marshall?
I'm going to say Terrace Marshall.
I still want my rookie wide receivers to do something during the season. So if it is Terrace Marshall going there and Mike Williams is still there, I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
So who's your pick, Mitchell? Who's your pick?
I'm going to go with Fairmouth.
So you're going fair. This is your tight end landing spot.
I'm just going to keep saying it till he's picked. It's just every single time. That's who I'm going with. San Francisco?
San
They
Fran.
need another
San
tight
Fran, Frymouth,
Can I just
Arizona,
say-
Frymouth.
Nah, I'm gonna go with
Better not be a running back.
I'm gonna go with Trey Sermon. I'm gonna go with Trey Sermon.
Kenneth Gainwell.
For John to say it's good makes me think it's a little bit off the beaten path. I mean, Herbert was hitting all kinds of receivers.
I
last
like
year.
that.
You know, so three different positions here.
I will say it wasn't exactly who I would have expected. I think it's just a good pick for the team overall. It's not necessarily for Herbert per se, but it's just good for the team overall.
You know what makes sense geographically? Coming from USC, Amon-Ra St. Brown, not going too far away.
That's not going to happen.
You're a day early, pal. A day early.
Yeah, that's probably a little early.
Actually,
Just
how about you
looking
all
at
go
it
to
with
hell,
San
okay?
Fran and then Arizona after that, Freiermuth actually would probably be a pretty good fit for Arizona if he makes
Oh,
it
that'd be
there.
really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
he's
like that a lot.
not going to the Chargers then.
Or
He's not
maybe this is
I'll tell you
reverse psychology. John over there is 3 steps ahead of us. Not only does he know the pick, but now he's throwing us off. So who knows who it is?
I like it.
There we
The
go.
funny thing is I know the next pick too.
That's awesome, dude.
I will say it's definitely a completely different experience than I've ever had. It's the first year I've ever had this, so it was. I've always been waiting around, and it's such a long wait and everything. I guess there is drama and it's fun, and some people love it, but I kind of like knowing early.
Sante Samuel, DB. So here
That is a really good pick. You're right.
I told you, yeah.
An offense. That was a good one. I was like kind of hoping Dallas would take Asante Samuel, and then
Yeah,
they went a different
I
route.
just think, like I
Let's
said,
see.
I think that they've obviously had injuries and everything. It's not necessarily fantasy football relevant. It could be worse for fantasy football, but it should be better for their team. Honestly,
they're building
Yeah,
a nice ball club, man.
No, that's a really good pick. And we've seen, even when they've had teams on paper, it's like, oh, that's a solid defense. They always get hit with the injury bug every single year. So it certainly doesn't hurt to upgrade there. Let's see. Tim says ESPN mock Freiermuth to Arizona. Okay.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really good fit for them. I mean, they obviously need a tight end. Dan Arnold didn't really work out, and obviously I think he's with Jacksonville now, right? So they do need a tight end, and I think they're trying to help that offense as a whole. So Arizona getting Freiermuth would help a lot.
Wait, really quick, talking about like leaks and everything. I was so aggravated on day 3 last year because they're what is it, 3 minutes picks are like rapid fire, and I'm seeing these leaks on Twitter. I had to put my phone down because I was trying to watch it, and I'm seeing all this stuff. I'm like, come on! So that kind of irritated me. People
I
like
will
you,
say
John,
when
people like-
there was one point where my friend sent me like a trade that happened like 3 picks ahead, and it was like I had to wait for 25 minutes just to see it happen on the screen. And I will say that was a little frustrating just because like you already know what's going to happen, and then you're actually questioning it. Is it really going to happen? But it did. He has not been wrong once, so I will say it's very accurate information.
John, who is going to be the biggest surprise from an offensive standpoint that gets taken tonight that maybe most people think, no, he's a day 3 player? I'm putting you on the spot here.
Yeah, you kind of are. I'm trying to think. I mean, when you said that, I was thinking Rondale Moore, but he's definitely not considered a day 3 player, so that obviously wouldn't make too much sense. I could see maybe one of the running backs going a little earlier, like a Trey Sermon, like Dan was talking about. I could see him going a little earlier than expected, and then I actually have him as my number 4 running back, or the model does, Beth does. So that would be.
So does
I
Dan.
like that.
So does Dan.
So I mean, honestly, that would be really good if he could get some day 2 capital. I want to see where I have him projected. Actually,
You know
I
what?
have
You know what
him-
Dan stands for? Data analytics. Nah.
Nah.
Hey, I like Beth now though, so that's all right. That's all right.
So does Beth stand for anything? Like, is it an acronym, or was that just a name that
No,
Dave threw
total.
over you?
We're doing the rookie fever pod, and I was going over Kylan Hill, which is another one of my running backs that I like. That's probably a day 3 guy. I would love for him to be a day 2 guy, even though I definitely do not expect it by any means. But we were just talking about it, and he started talking about you need to make up a name for it, because I just said I was so sick of saying my model. It gets really old, so he named it for me. But I was looking. I have Trey Sermon going at 54. So I mean that is day 2. So I guess that wouldn't be that much of a slide or that much of a surprise or anything. But I would definitely like Sermon. Oh no, I'm sorry. I was looking at the wrong thing. I have Sermon going at 107. So never mind. I was definitely looking at the wrong column.
I was like 54.
So yeah, it would be a
that's right
surprise
around the.
if it
That's
was.
pretty good. I like that.
Yeah. No, it's my bad. But yeah, 107. So that definitely would be a surprise if he could go a little earlier.
He's
but
the
I think
one.
he's better than.
He's the one that I think is going to teeter on that edge, but I think he does get pushed to tonight.
Oh wow.
And I know Dan would be excited about that.
What would I be excited about? Sorry,
This is how it's been all night. About Trey Sermon. Half of the show is just me repeating myself.
Yeah,
You
we're
need to turn on the
multitasking
subtitles.
here.
Yeah. Mitch, you're going with the caller 2 nights in a row. I like that.
I am trying to dress up a little bit. I had to put the hat on tonight because I forgot to do my hair. I took a shower, so that's how it goes.
So you didn't shower, you didn't eat. Like what were you doing today?
I mowed the lawn. Does that count?
Unacceptable.
I know, right? But like this round, I expected.
I know.
This is like the first round from last year to where you're just waiting and you're like, something's going to happen. And at the end, CH happened. We all went ecstatic, but I think that was solely because nothing else happened the previous 12 picks.
We were dying for something to happen. Yeah. And that's why we wanted to expand to 2 days this year, because we saw all the action last year from day 2. And we were like, oh, we want to be a part of it. We want to do a live stream. We want to have these incredible guests join us to give breaking news analysis, essentially. And we can't pick John's brain right now because there's nobody to talk about.
Hey, I tried to prep both of you guys today when I shared Brandon Thorne's tweet there of 20 offensive linemen going in these next 2 rounds. So,
yeah. And what was my response? Wake me up when it's over.
It was, but there's more to fantasy football, guys, than just wide receivers and running backs. So, I'm just saying.
Nah, that can't be true, can it? Mitch, did you wear that shirt to mow the lawn? Tim wants to know.
Heavens no. I mean, this is like the classiest shirt that I have. So, it stays behind everything else. I had to dig for it a little bit. Throw it in the dryer. You know how it goes.
Oh, I'm a big dryer person. Like, oh, there's a wrinkle in that shirt. I'm not going to iron it. It goes in the dryer.
Then it's all warm when you put it on. It's perfect. Like, it's really nice.
I don't know why our electric bill is always so high, though. It can't be my fault.
I bought my dryer specifically because it has a steam refresh setting where it actually induces steam into it for 25 minutes. So you just, in the morning, you take whatever and throw it in there.
Very nice.
Our listeners get all kinds of education here. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Do you guys think that Terrace Marshall is the next skill position player that goes, or do you think he'll last a little bit?
So, Mitch, I'll let you dig into that.
I was just gonna say I think he's the most skilled that's available, but all of those medical things came out on his legs the last week or so. So maybe the NFL knows something we don't. He just ends up, just sliding for a while. With Arizona, I worry if they pick any wide receiver, because all the ones they pick, they don't end up using. They pick Christian Kirk, nothing. They picked Isabella, there's nothing there. Hopkins is amazing, and then they got AJ Green. So even if they went skill position here, if it's not tight end, I'm probably out.
I think Marshall's the next receiver that goes.
Arizona is one of those teams. They are very quick to pull the plug. Mm-hmm. Like except
for Rondell Moore to Arizona.
It was Rondell Moore.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't even know how to feel about that one, to be honest with you.
Andy Isabella replacement or what?
Yeah, Isabella's gone. I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about him too much anymore. Man, Kyler Murray.
I actually like this for Rondell Moore.
It's the funniest highlight. There's like a 5'5" guy thrown to a 5-foot guy.
I know.
Mike
Kyler's
Lombardi's
gonna
going
be
to eat it up.
Kyler's gonna be like, Rondell, I can't see you. Where are you? Getting
But
on his
really,
feet.
that's kind of an issue if Murray isn't going outside. You have Moore going across the middle, and you have Murray in the pocket. And you have Moore going outside. Like, he might just not be able to see him.
So, but do you think they utilize Rondell more in other ways?
Yeah.
To get him out in space, and like I'm just picturing. Obviously, there's no like schematic approach here, but like Kyler doing his thing, moving around, and finding Rondell Moore in a broken play, like
I could see that. Yeah.
time and time again.
Mm-hmm.
John, what do you think?
Doesn't he run the most 4 wide receiver sets? So I mean, I feel like it's definitely a good fit. Where like I think everyone was a little concerned once Moore came out as 5'7", and this might actually kind of like calm those concerns a little bit, because he's going to be on the field, but he doesn't have to be the number one guy. He doesn't have to be, like the defense isn't going to be able to truly focus on him, because they do have, obviously they have Hop, they have even Kirk. Like I think Kirk gets a little disrespected. Like, I'm not saying he's amazing or anything, but I think he's better than that. But you kind of have a little bit of everything, and I mean AJ Green could at least pull someone off, but Rondell's going to be able to. They're going to be able to use him as that kind of like jack of all trades or whatever you want to call it, Swiss Army knife, and that it might actually be good for him. It might not be amazing for fantasy like weekly, like consistently, but I feel like he's gonna have boom games. He's gonna give you that like 2 touchdown game, and
Are we gonna say the line? He's gonna be a hell of a best ball player. I feel like that's always you talk about boom bust, and we talked about it last night.
Yeah.
I actually think he could end up being a little better now thinking about it. So Fitzgerald isn't officially retired, but kind of it's been out there like he's not officially retired, because they asked him kind of not to talk about till after the draft, kind of what the 49ers did last year. But if he could get that slot role that Fitzgerald's in, that's great. If he gets 5 targets a game and what he can do with those 5 targets, I really like that.
Good.
So now we have Christian Kirk, in no order, obviously. Christian Kirk, Rondell Moore, AJ Green, and DeAndre Hopkins. I mean,
it's a sneaky spot where he could be the number 2, as he progresses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, he could walk into that number 2 spot.
Like, think about last year, because of all the attention DeAndre Hopkins commands from the defense. There was that stretch that Christian Kirk, like 3-4 games last year, a lot of it was based on the touchdown upside and like a long bomb, but he was like a top 15 receiver for that massive sample size of 3 weeks.
Was it last year that he had that 4 touchdown game, or was that the year before?
I think that was 2.
Was it 2 years ago? I couldn't remember if it was with Hopkins or not.
I don't remember yesterday, so I'll say 2.
Sure. Yeah, we'll go with that.
All right, so an offensive player, the third one taken today.
That's good, though.
John, so we had Elijah Moore to the Jets, Rondell Moore to Arizona, Javonte Williams to Denver. Landing spot-wise, of course, we're mixing and matching positions here. Who do you like the best for their landing spot?
Well, I don't know about you guys, but even including like last night, I don't know that I absolutely love any of these landing spots. I feel like Jalen Waddle was probably the best, the best fit out of all of them. But, I don't think anyone's truly like dead either. But as far as just tonight goes, I don't know if you can truly love Javonte going to Denver, because, I mean, Gordon's still going to be there. He's still going to be a part of it. Javonte might be able to take over. But we also saw Javonte split touches and carries and stuff in college. So, I mean, that might end up being how they want to use him, whether that's right or how we want it to be or whatever. So I don't know that I love that. And then, there's a lot up in the air with the Jets, new head coach, new quarterback, new everything. So it's hard to love that spot for Elijah, even though I don't hate it. I might actually think that Rondell's the best fit so far of tonight's, wide receiver and running back skill position players, I guess just to say.
So I'm looking at my rookie rankings, and I put this out on Twitter because I think holding ourselves accountable, and I like that, John, you put your stuff out there, with your model, and that's a way of accountability, and I think that's important. But looking at my rankings, besides a one draft slot swap in two different places. I haven't moved anybody significantly, and we haven't seen that big surprise where like CEH, he's jumping up boards.
Right.
I feel like we haven't seen that. And I saw a tweet. It was like 11 of the top 12 Superflex rookie rankings went in the first round. Like that's kind of crazy to think that the NFL and fantasy lined up fairly well, I feel like.
Yeah, because we didn't actually have, a full college season to work off of. And so I feel like we might have actually caught up with the NFL this time around. Maybe it won't always be that way, but I think we, as a community, actually did a pretty good job of figuring out who the best players were.
I agree. Mitch, let me ask. Bateman. I'm not going to include Devontae Smith because you're higher on him overall than I am. Bateman, Elijah Moore, Rondell Moore. How do you order those? How do you rank those three?
Bateman, probably Rondell, then Elijah. But I mean, those two are going to be back to back for me. And more than likely, someone is going to like one of those two more than the other. But I bet you I end up with a pretty even kill of both those guys. I would doubt I have a huge variance one way or the other on those two. But I would have Bateman 100% above both of them.
John, let me ask you, because Mitch, you kind of said something there. And when we had Scott Connor on last night, he talked about this. First of all, how many Dynasty leagues are you in?
I try not to count it because I don't want to cry myself to sleep at night. But I think I want to say I'm in 15 altogether.
Okay. So the reason I ask, not so much the specific number, but across your portfolio, let's say you have 3 wide receivers in a similar tier. Do you kind of go different routes and go with different options draft to draft, or do you like to really go all in on one prospect? Because I know this is somewhere that Mitch and I differ a little bit.
Yeah, so I kind of changed the way that I thought. I used to just fall in love with players, and that's just who I wanted. Nowadays, I really just look at the value, and even if it's a player I don't necessarily love, if I think that they're going to accrue value over time or even very quickly, then that's who I'm going to take, because I can probably take them and then go get the guy that I want and gain something, on top of it later on. It can be risky. It's not perfect by any means, because obviously they can fail, and then now I don't have the player I want and I have a failed player on my roster. So it's definitely not perfect, but that's kind of how I've been leaning the past couple of years, is just going for value. I did it with Todd Gurley a couple of years ago, where I didn't love Gurley, but he was still considered the number 1 running back at the time. And in a startup, I took him 101 overall in a Superflex startup. And then I traded him later on for Joe Mixon and Allen Robinson. And, I won that league 2 years in a row. It's just like, it's been a pretty good thing. So, not saying that that's just one example, but that's kind of how I'm leaning nowadays.
Okay. And then Dan, did we miss a pick?
Yeah, Giants, Azir Ojulari for my Georgia Bulldogs. So that was a good, solid defensive pick for the Giants. Not that I'm happy for the Giants like Chris in the chat, but it was a good pick.
Dan, have you had that dog with you the whole time?
Yeah, I got all kinds of props here, man. It's in the fan cave. I got to have some Georgia swag, my dogs.
And Samuel Cosme, tackle just went to Washington.
Yep.
Man, Washington loves that defense.
Oh, is he a defensive tackle? All I saw was tackle. No, he's an offensive lineman, right?
Offensive, yeah.
Oh, is it? My bad.
Yeah, he's offensive. That's pretty good. They're building that offense for sure. I still kind of feel like they need to go wide receiver at some point. I don't know how you guys feel. If you're, some people are like all over Samuel, and that's just not me. I don't know.
Same here, man.
No, I would it surprise me if Curtis Samuel, if he ended up that teetering on that wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 range? No,
sure,
but that's so easily replaceable. So if I can cash out and get something, I think the hype has died down a little bit since the initial news, because this offseason, more than ever, we're all just waiting for some type of news, right? And whenever a trade happens, everybody's so hyped. Oh, top 5 receiver right there. And then like it's like as soon as there's another piece of news, Curtis Samuel, who? What? No, I don't even remember him. So I'm with you. I would have liked to see them add a wide receiver, but again, improving that offensive line, great for as of now Ryan Fitzpatrick, great for Antonio Gibson, Logan Thomas, Terry McLaurin. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah, what was that best ball line that you were talking about earlier? That's perfect for Samuel. You know?
Right. Yeah, any boom or bust player. Oh, they're a great best ball option.
Honestly, if I could place a prop bet on him not being a top 24 wide receiver, whatever the max on that prop bet is, I would be willing to max that out.
Yeah, that might be something you have to do with like your league mates, you know, and you might not be able to get that
right,
in Vegas.
on the side.
Just to make some side bets with it.
You got to find the one.
I'll be the
There's
devil.
one in every league.
I'll be the devil's advocate here on Curtis Samuel.
Here's the one.
Man. He's young, early 20s, versatile, fits a need, fits into that system there. Fitzmagic will be flinging it around, but they need some depth, though. I would like to see some more weapons in that receiving core. What do you guys, a Macho Man impersonator out there now for the Browns?
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, I can tell you, we just keep getting all these offensive linemen, defensive linemen players. Like even this next one, it's just we're not getting the receivers and the running backs that we need, or at least us fantasy players want to see.
I know, right? Yeah, Browns, there's no reason for them to go a skill position, to be honest, though. I mean, they're kind of set at their skill positions. If they just bolster, that's okay.
Yeah, and I'm not saying obviously it's important, like we just said with the Washington football team, like getting that offensive lineman is probably going to help everyone. But that you still, as a fantasy player, you love to see what would have been more exciting? They get an offensive lineman or they take Terrace Marshall, like that kind of thing. I actually have Marshall as projected at 40th overall in the draft, and we're at 52 now. So I mean, he's definitely falling. Maybe it is that medical, those medicals that came out on him.
Yeah, if he didn't have those injuries, he's drafted already.
I think so. I mean, especially with the pro day that he had, everything that he's done, everything he did in the draft. If there's a reason he's falling, I feel like it has to be the medicals. There doesn't really seem to be too much. And I'm not even saying, like, I have him as my 9th ranked receiver, pre-draft. So I'm not saying I absolutely love him or anything, but, like, there's really no true reason for him to fall, and that's with the projected draft capital. So chances are if he keeps falling in the NFL draft, he's going to drop in my actual rankings too.
Without a doubt. I mean, there's only 12 picks left. There's probably going to be another at least 6 linemen and defensive players. I mean, at least, right? So that means we're going to need a lot of skill positions picked in that 3rd round, or there's going to be a lot of guys that we've been high on for the last 3 months going that 4th round, and we all kind of know those 4th round picks. We don't really love them as much.
Exactly.
I see 4 sweet spots in this round where he'd have a chance. You got Seattle if they ever want to add to help Russ out there and get him a true third wide receiver. Kansas City has 2 picks, if they replace Sammy Watkins. New Orleans, we talked about them earlier, is potentially, after Mike Thomas getting them a true number 2. And then Green Bay if they ever wanted to draft a wide receiver.
Actually, I see in the chat, Chris Hammerschmidt asked if we think Tennessee goes wide receiver, and actually that would actually be a decent one. I think that would be a pretty good fit for them too. Get a little bit more of that speed. Obviously, we know Marshall can play in the slot. We know he can play on the outside. I don't think he can. I don't think he's like really limited to one role, and that would be really good because I don't think AJ Brown's really limited to one role either. So they can kind of just switch it up and do either or. So that wouldn't be.
Yeah, he could take over whatever Corey Davis was running last year. He could do the exact same thing that Davis was. Yeah.
Who, Terrace Marshall?
I think so.
Yep.
Are we just going to say Terrace Marshall to every team until he gets picked?
We got 5 sweet spots where he could go here, JB, in the 2nd round. We'll see.
And your guy got picked. JOK.
Finally. Into the Browns. Look at that. The Browns, man. I think you're right, John. We got to get rid of that dysfunction opening there.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of good things.
Some good picks. Yeah.
They're doing a lot of good things.
It's a nice pick.
What do you think happens in that division? I mean, the Browns are legit now.
I think Browns and Ravens will battle it out. Steelers will be right there at like 9-7, well, 10-7 maybe. Throwing that 17th game and throwing me off a little bit.
I know.
And then the Bengals like 6-11 or something.
Yeah, I could definitely say. I guess even depending on what how healthy Burrow is, they could even be a little bit worse. But
right, it sounds like he might be. I mean, it's early, but that he might be okay to start the season. So we'll see.
I feel like if they didn't truly believe he was going to be healthy, would they draft Chase? I mean, not that like this year or the first 6 games are the only thing that matters or anything like that, but I just feel like if he wasn't truly healthy, maybe they do go offensive lineman there or something like that rather than getting another offensive weapon.
Yeah, unless they just think Chase is leaps and bounds better within his position. I mean, but that was a big debate and conversation last night.
Yeah. I love Chase, and I love the landing spot. I mean, I don't know how. I know a lot of people love T. Higgins. I hate to say it, but he's definitely not going to be the number one on that team. But
I think it negatively impacts Higgins more than it does Boyd personally. That's just my thought.
Yeah, I think Boyd's still going to have his role, and that's not going to, Chase isn't going to be running in the slot or anything like that. Not that he can't or not that he won't at all, but I don't think that's going to be his game, per se. So I definitely think it will affect Higgins more because Chase is going to demand targets, and that's going to, I like Higgins, but I definitely think, I've always kind of thought that he was more of a wide receiver 2 on his own team than a wide receiver 1, like stud standout. And that seems like the Bengals kind of feel that way too,
That offense, if they can improve that offensive line, whether it's a little bit here throughout the draft or something miraculous happens, I'm excited to see that offense. They're gonna have to throw the ball. They're gonna have to put points up. That defense is doing them no favors. So, Chris in the chat, Burrow's going to drop back a lot. Absolutely. I think there are plenty of targets to go around. It's the same way we look at Dallas. I like Amari Cooper. I like CeeDee Lamb. Heck, I'm fine with Michael Gallup as a wide receiver 3 option, maybe a flex play. So
there's a lot of similarities between those two offenses. I mean, I think there's enough footballs to go around.
Offensive line being the big
3 wide receivers. Yeah. But then, hey, they draft a lineman in the second round here, the Bengals. They get some guys back healthy. They're taking steps, but their defense is a hot mess. And I think, Dallas is able to work on their defense through this draft where Cincinnati has not been able to yet. And I think that's going to be the big difference.
That's a good point. And the Titans do not take Marshall. I can tell you that much. So it's we're continuing the slide.
Here we go.
At least Seattle, Kansas City, New Orleans, Green Bay.
Well, I
just wonder what.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say with Burrow, I think he actually leads the league in passing attempts this upcoming year. Yeah. He was pretty much on the pace already before he got injured. I think Roethlisberger's been the only one that's been somewhat close, but you have to think they're going to run the ball just a little bit more. I think Burrow throws 650, 700 times this year.
I don't know if it's quite 700, but 600. It's going to be over 600. It has to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't, that's, I don't think that's be considered a hot take at all. Now, so Tennessee does not go Terrace Marshall. Can you just say, is it an offensive player?
Offensive tackle for Tennessee, Dylan Radins.
Yeah. All right. That's not what I consider an offensive
protected
player.
Trey Lance's blind side all season. Right, for one game this year, but
I know nothing about the player, but I mean, I definitely like the fact that they went offensive tackle there. They needed to get something with Wilson completely failing last year and not even being on the team anymore. So I don't know if it's actually a good pick, but I like that they actually addressed it though.
Now we haven't talked about this player at all tonight, but do you think Indianapolis could go Terrace Marshall? You had to know it wasn't going to be serious as I started.
I know we talked about it last night, but I don't think they need a wide receiver, to be honest with you. They're fine. Yeah.
They don't need one.
I don't think they need it as bad as they need, a cornerback, maybe more offensive line help.
Mm-hmm.
I told you my big worry.
But do you
is if Seattle wants to add somebody to that backfield. That is my worry.
Chris Carson, don't crush him.
That's my big worry. I was 0 for 2 last night with James Robinson, and then I kept saying, don't let Rashad Bateman go to Baltimore. Seattle, that worries me in the second here.
Yep. With Indy, I mean, do you feel like it still feels like they need a number 1 wide receiver? Like, I don't know how you guys feel about Pittman, but I feel like they have 3 number 2 receivers, with Hilton being basically at the end of his, of his career. You can't really count him as a number 1 wide receiver anymore. And so even though I don't think they need a pick, and they probably have other positions that they should address first, I wouldn't hate if they took Marshall there, because he at least has that ability to be a number 1 on the team.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point.
I agree with that too.
I just think they're in win now mode. And I think Carson Wentz elevates T.Y. Hilton for a little bit longer. And to your point, I love Michael Pittman. Is he a number 1? I don't know. I mean, I like the potential. Paris Campbell, I'm not sold on.
Dan likes Michael Pittman. What am I going to say, Dan?
He's got the NFL genes, man.
That's it. If your daddy played in the NFL, Dan loves you.
I used to deliver pizzas to Michael Pittman Sr., so I've met
cool.
him. That man's arms were
jacked,
insane. Right? Oh my god.
John wanted to be a guest tonight, strictly a name drop. Yeah, I deliver pizzas to Michael Pittman. I have a friend giving me inside tips.
It's Roger Goodell,
I pressure wash Robert Ayers' house once a month. I don't know if that counts.
Who?
Robert Ayers.
Defensive end.
Defensive end. Yeah.
Yeah, you lost me at defensive.
John's world. That's you're talking foreign to him. not a skill player.
Actually, I pressure washed. I do pressure washing and roof cleaning for a living. I also pressure washed and cleaned Vincent Jackson's roof. Obviously, before he passed away, I did it a few times. So that was pretty sad. But he was a really good guy. His wife was really nice too.
Where you live?
Tampa.
Okay.
Yeah, outside of Tampa, Land O'Lakes, but close enough.
Great cheese.
Yeah. Yeah, people are always like, oh, with the cheese? No, not the cheese. That's Wisconsin.
Growing up, like going to the grocery store with my mom, every time, Land O'Lakes sliced thin. That's the cheese of choice. It always had to be sliced thin.
It's Tillamook. We could fight over this. It's Tillamook.
What the hell is Tillamook? What?
You guys don't have Tillamook in the East?
Tillamook's good. It's good stuff.
It's the greatest cheese in history.
Dan, do you know what Tillamook is?
No clue. I'm catching on here. Cheese, right?
It's Pennsylvania. I feel sorry for you guys.
Is it like is it American cheese, like a cheddar?
Yeah.
Like what?
They do everything, but it's based out of, I think it's in Oregon. So it's probably just a West Coast thing.
Oh, so that's the brand. Okay.
It's the brand. Yeah, sorry.
I wasn't sure if it was like a Gouda cheddar.
No.
Man,
we're going over everything tonight, guys.
Well,
I'm gonna keep digging deep. I want to keep digging deeper. So John, did you play football by any chance back in your heyday? You look like an athletic guy there. In Florida, but great football in Florida. So I'm interested if you did.
I did. I played football all throughout. Obviously middle school, high school, and all that. And I played. I played arena football for one season, and then the league. It wasn't Arena 1. It was actually Arena 2. So it was like the lower level arena, and
very familiar.
The entire league disbanded, so it didn't really work out too great.
What year did you play Arena 2 ball for that season? Trying to gauge your age here, like ballpark.
Yeah, well, I'm 36, but I was
okay.
I want to say that was like 2007, 2008, something around there.
We had an Arena 2 team here in PA, Wilkes-Barre Scranton Pioneers. And I coached some semi-pro ball, so I had some guys that played in the Arena 2. I got the Colts on the clock here. But yeah, football in Florida is just a whole other beast.
Yeah, I love football, and that's what I was saying. Like, if I could watch all of the college football, every single play, and watch film on every single player, I totally would. It's not that I'm against film. I love film. I love people that can actually watch all that. I just don't have the time.
I get it.
My thing with watching and doing the film stuff, I'll keep this quick. I used to work every Saturday. So I never watched college football. I went to Robert Morris University. there's a football team, but not
worse, yeah.
Division One. Pitt, there's not much to cheer for there. So I was never a huge college football fan. So that's kind of the reasoning for me.
Yeah, I went to USF and they didn't have a football team until like the year before I started playing, and even then, you know, like the team was just completely garbage for like at least a couple of years. So it wasn't even like, oh, do you want to go play on the football team? It was like, no, I'm good. I'll just go to class.
Wait, really quick, Mitch and Dan, the pick for the Colts, Deo, is that a league mate?
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Not the same Deo.
Defensive end. All right.
So we have comment in the chat about Dan being a Cowboys fan for Pennsylvania. It's really weird. Dan is, let's see.
Brett's over in Philly, so he's not far from you, Dan.
So he's a Lakers fan, a Cowboys fan,
A Georgia fan.
Bandwagon.
I am a misfit, man. I do like the Philadelphia Phillies, so I got one PA team that I like. But outside of that, grew up liking Tony Dorsett, and the Cowboys wanted to be a running back, so that's how that started. Lakers, 80 Showtime. Georgia was Herschel Walker, another running back.
Mitch, I'm not so sure that your prediction doesn't come true just around later.
Oh, this pick.
Steelers, JB. I mean,
Now
I hope it's Davis Mills. It's my hope.
John, you have me all nervous here. It could be Davis Mills, of course. The Wizard of Oz, John, over there with his crystal ball. He already knows who it's going to be. We have Franco on the stage, ready to announce it.
It's
Dan,
tattooed.
I like the pick.
Atwell.
I like it.
Oh, all right.
Dan, has it come through yet?
Franco Harris is speaking here.
All right,
Starting.
Franco. Come on, baby. Let's go. Get on with it.
Here comes.
Could be tight end.
Are you a Steelers fan right now? I'm not entirely sure.
No, I just wanted to
love
be
that
on
pick. I brought it up earlier.
Oh, you got your tight end.
Yep.
Pat Fairbanks.
I like it. Wait, Mitch, are we going to fall into the Pittsburgh tight end trap that was Vance McDonald?
Yeah, but this one's good, so it's okay.
Okay.
Because Eric Ebron was actually like decent for fantasy this past year, and he is better than Ebron in every single way.
Ebron's still
I don't
there,
know
right?
how much you guys love, all of the wide receivers on the Steelers, but do you think that having an actual legit tight end is going to hurt, Deontay? Because he had so many of those dump offs, his little 6-yard dinks and dunks and stuff.
Here is my only thing. We know Pat Freiermuth he's a tight end that's able to block. How much of that is going to be used in his arsenal and what's going to be asked of him? Because we've seen with certain teams that, certain games, depending on who they're playing and the matchups, that tight ends have stayed into block. And, I just, that's my only hesitation.
I would say Fairmouth falls into that dynasty. Don't plan on anything for the first year with him, right? Just plan on him riding your bench. He's going to learn the offense and take off from there. That's how I look at it. But where he's going now, you're probably going to get him in the mid-second round, even in tight end premium leagues. And I think that's okay.
In the 2 PPR, like safe leagues and everything like that, I would be willing to take him middle of the second.
Mm-hmm.
PPR, I don't have him there, just typical PPR.
Right, yeah.
But in that +1 for the tight end receptions, I can get there.
He solidified himself definitely in the second round. Whether it's mid or late, I'm not sure yet. I want to see where a few guys land, but red zone, blocking tight end with Najee Harris now. I see the offense coming together here. That's a good pick.
That's what I was thinking about with Najee. That actually makes me think, like Najee a little bit more. Like JB was saying, if he's going to be in blocking more, especially in year one, then that's just going to help Najee even more. And we know that they need some offensive line help. So that maybe this was their way to address 2 positions at once, basically.
Yeah, he can help the tackle.
It's also their way of doing what they can to give Ben help during his last push here. I really think what the Steelers are doing is exactly what the world wants Green Bay to do with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's exactly it. And I say it, the Steelers, they are loyal to a fault with positions, with players. I know things kind of went sour with with Le'Veon Bell, but with all the stuff with Antonio Brown afterwards, look at the way, like, to an extent, they coddled him almost, and with the coaching staff, 3 coaches in 50 plus years, it's a very loyal organization, but we would have loved to have seen Aaron Rodgers get the support from the Packers. Packy, I have a feeling you're in the chat. I wish Aaron Rodgers had this type of support. I do. Go ahead, John.
I actually don't have the pick for the Seahawks, so I'm like in the dark with everyone else on this one.
You're slacking now. We bring you on the show, and now you don't even have a pick.
I know.
Dan,
what's up?
Dan, do you and they're going to the wire too?
Yep.
I got 5 seconds on the clock. Dan, do you think they address tight end?
Seattle?
Yeah.
No, because they got Gerald Everett. Remember? I like Gerald Everett there.
Yeah,
Doesn't
I don't
mean
think
they can still address it.
I think they're a team that's got to help Russ out, or they need defensive help too.
Knowing the Seahawks, they will draft Davis Mills or someone else. Be like, fine, Russ, we're okay.
Ooh, this actually, I just got it. It's interesting for sure. And it's
could Russ get
it's actually a skill position player. So
third wide receiver, man.
I want a running back.
No. Oh God.
Trey Sermon?
No, I said my thought was and I would hate it. It could be Gainwell.
Gainwell would compliment Carson nice.
Yeah, they would always say how they both look nice, paying compliments to each other.
Take over.
I think Russ will be happy with it. I think it's good for the team, honestly.
Gainwell's a weapon. Unless you go like a 2-2. 2-2 could be a nice weapon there, man.
Oh, no.
I'm really interested. I'm really intrigued with Tutu. I know people are so scared with his, being 155 pounds, whatever it is. But man, I really like Tutu. He's like my wide receiver 10 or 12 or something like that.
Yeah. I had him I probably had him in that range until I found out like he weighs as much as like one of my legs. Like
I'm pretty sure I weighed 163 my sophomore year in high school, and so I can't imagine being 150 pounds. Like that's like one of my legs, basically.
Yeah. Do we?
Oh yeah. What position did you play, John, in high school?
I played linebacker and safety.
All right, defensive side of the ball. Won't hold that against you.
I tried to play quarterback, but I just wasn't good enough.
That's fair. All right, pick's getting closer here. Walking to the podium.
Oh man, please, football Jesus! If you're listening, do not let it be Kenneth Gainwell.
What should be?
I think it'll be a surprise for a lot of people, but I actually think it's a good pick.
Oh, Dwayne Eskridge.
Hey, I just said Eskridge.
Mike and Ray from NFL Rough Draft.
Yeah, they nailed it.
Somebody check on them because they love Dwayne Eskridge. Just like some of the running backs that Dan mentioned earlier, I saw Dwayne Eskridge in a nursing home earlier today. He's what, 24 years old? 23, 24? The dude's old.
He's old. Yeah. I don't know how old.
Yeah.
He's old.
He is pretty old.
He just needs to be a wide receiver 3, and Seattle's better. They need an extra receiver in there.
No, listen, sure, great.
Fantasy world, I know what you're saying.
But if this second round draft capital elevates him, I know there was some hype earlier in the offseason surrounding Dwayne Eskridge. I almost called him a young man, but that would be a lie. I don't think that I would be too upset if he was elevated in rookie draft. Somebody take him in the second. Please.
Oh, yeah. That'd be crazy.
I beg of you.
I just updated because I had him projected to go at 74 overall, and obviously he just went at 56. So I updated that, and he actually moved up one spot in the models rankings by doing that. Or actually, he ends up being tied for wide receiver 14. So it's not like he's definitely not going the second round if you're going off of the model.
No, and if listen, I know I knock some of these guys, but wide receiver 14, if you want to pull the trigger on a player there, go ahead. That's right. Get your guy territory. If there's a running back you love, once you hit the third round, I'd say, sure, get your guy. But I don't know. I would really temper expectations, and I'm gonna send a message to the Rough Draft guys to see if they're doing okay.
But like you said, I mean, those are the kind of guys that hopefully somebody gets really excited and they're a Seattle fan or they're just a Russell Wilson fan or whatever it is, and they get really excited and they do draft him in the second. And yeah, you're like, okay, I like Dwayne Eskridge, but I don't love him, so I'm not mad about it. And then somebody that I actually do love falls, and that's when you love it.
Oh my god, it's 8:59. Woo! I'm glad I looked at the clock because we were about to have John on here for 7 hours tonight. All right, John, listen. Man, I don't even have to say it was a blast because, again, I look at the clock and I am shocked. Let our listeners know where to find you, what you're working on. Tell them more about Beth or whoever else you want to talk about.
Yeah, so you can find me at the Monocle Dynasty podcast, also the Debbie Devotional podcast, and also the Take It or Leave It podcast. I like to start podcasts and I like to talk. Obviously, I think you guys figured that out by now. I also have a website called contenderconnection.com. And I have FF_Spaceman's database up there. I have Peter Howard's database up there. I have my models, my shareable models up there. We also have consensus rankings. We have film watchers. We have obviously nerds like me. We have everything, and we all combine it. So you have a little bit of everything, and we've come up with some really good rookie consensus rankings, and that's all up there. And then obviously articles and everything else. So that's definitely the best place to find me. And then obviously happy hour on Fridays. Like I said, if you ever want it, just slide in the DMs. I'll send you the link. I can't do it like on Twitter. I found that out the hard way. There's people that actually like fish for that stuff, and then you get some people that you don't necessarily want in your Zoom call.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
What they're called Zoom bombing, right? People drop in Zoom.
yeah,
bombing.
I think that's exactly what it is.
All right, John. Well, again, thanks, man. We appreciate it. Hopefully, the rest of the draft is in your favor.
Yep, I already know the end of it, so you know it's.
Have a good night, man. We appreciate it, dude.
Appreciate it, John.
Absolutely, it was a lot of fun. Thanks, guys. Nice
We'll
seeing
see
you.
you.
All right, let's see here. So I reached out to I hate the spot, but knew he was a second round talent. You know how we feel about it. Ray and Mike, they're loving it. They're loving it. Dwayne Eskridge, that is. All right, so we're moving on here. We have two more guests coming on here shortly. Let me make sure
Well, maybe.
they have the link. They should be good to go.
Yeah, I've been watching the Twitter group. We're good.
The chitter?
The chitter.
The chitter chatter? And all the people, they had no issues with the link. The only person that had an issue finding links.
Well, you got to push buttons, and it's really hard for him.
He doesn't even know we're talking about him.
Dan, can I ask you, on the computer, are you a one-finger typer?
No.
Oh, wow.
Let me think about that. I'm not a good typer, but I'm not a one finger.
So you got two. You got at least two.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
good. That's good.
We
get three in there.
That takes me back to 9th grade typing class, and like the teacher, she was like a Hawkeye. Like she wasn't even in the room, and she knew. Nope. Like she knew something was going on. Like your posture, the technique. She knew somehow.
Well, you're supposed to use your pinkies. Like I could type pretty fast. I cannot use my pinkies on the keyboard. Like it doesn't even make sense to do it for me.
I think. Do I use my pinky? Yeah, I use my pinkies.
Nope.
When you think about it, it's really strange.
See, it's what we do here. We bring up the good topics during.
What did the Rams take 2-2?
God,
The Rams.
You look at the Rams and you're like, they make really good decisions when they pick up veterans, but you can completely see why they trade away all their draft picks because they'll pick Tutu Atwell and then they'll pick Van Jefferson last year. Like, I understand why they just trade them all away.
Oh my gosh, that's why they didn't join. Kev, we're coming over. Hold on one sec. Oh my God, I was blaming them. Hold on, nobody leave this one yet. Let me drop the YouTube link in the chat. Holy cow, I'm sorry, guys.
I'll go over the other one.
All right. Let's see, view on YouTube. Get that in there. All right, everybody that's watching, I just dropped the YouTube link in there. We're going to end this session and jump on over to the other one. Peace.